of intelligence from Hampton University, the soul of integrity from South Jersey. Please give it up, if you would be so kind, to Frosty Phoenix, Agent 31, the pride of one Desiree, Mr. Eric Nixon.
Honestly, don't know how I can ever respond to such a lauded and exaggerated biography, but I'll take it.
Man, all of these things are true, ladies and gentlemen. He won the awards for them all just this last night. How goes the race, man? How you feeling?
It's another day, nothing to
That's
complain
it.
about that anybody will listen to.
I
So,
will listen. You tell me. Tell me what's on you. Tell me what's bothering you, and I'm listening because like my daddy told me one time, my daddy said, son, I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care what's going wrong. I don't care what's breaking or broken in your life. I'm not just your father. I'm your friend. And as your father, I'm not just your friend. I am your friend to the end. So tell me what's going on and tell me what you need. And I said, Daddy, I'm $50 short. I need $50. He said, son, that's the end. Yeah.
how hilarious, how hilarious. But no, I have nothing to share. Not that you have an ear for me anyway. You don't care,
I
because we were trying to
care,
link up
man.
over tomorrow. I was gonna,
I'm
ladies and gentlemen,
to-
I was gonna link up and pass Nick information we need for a conversation next month. And Nick said, "Leave it on my desk. Leave it on my desk. Don't come see me."
Listen to the tone. Don't you just love it when people, you ever notice that, Eric, when people tell you about discussion they have with other people and how they make the tone sounds about the other person? They'll say, so I told him, well, look, I can't do it right now. And he said, well, why can't you do it now? And it didn't sound like that at all. And for those of you who are listening to this conversation, not only did Eric not hear me say that, I texted it to him and tell them why.
I'll tell them why. Because you don't want to
Tell
see
them
me.
why.
You don't want to see me. See, you don't want to see me. And you
They don't
can
see this
hear
thing.
text messages, man. It said, Eric, I don't want to see you. Drop it on my desk.
Eric said, "Look, we can get together tomorrow." He says, "But I want to check out my mom. There's something that I need to do for her, and she needs my assistance." And I immediately said, knowing his dear and loving mother, who has done so much for him, sacrificed so much for this young man, given of her heart and her soul, and even a pint of her blood, so that this young man could have all that he needs, staying awake at night, wringing her fingers until they are chafed, praying for his mortal soul. This woman does. She is the soul of caring and compassion about this young'un. And he said, I need to do something for her. And I said to him, man, if you are doing something for your mother, forget about me. Just leave it on the desk and I'll pick it up. You don't have to go out your way because your mama is the most important. But he don't feel that way.
Yeah, that sounds a little truer. But the point being is that you said in the message, I don't care. I don't want to see you. No kidding. But I do have to check on a procedure with my mom.
All right, Miss
tomorrow.
Brenda,
Shout
I
out
got
to
your
Mama. I know
back.
she's
I mean,
listening. I'll be there
one
later
parent
on.
to another, I got you.
Say what?
I said one parent to another. I was telling Miss Brenda that I got her back.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I see now. I'm telling you now, Eric. He'll know this as his three children as they get older. The three kids he has. He'll understand it. You have three
Yeah,
kids or four
was it
kids now?
bill payments and late?
Hey man, look, I don't know if you heard some of the stories out there. I know you heard me mention that we will have a resident sex therapist, human sexuality expert coming on to talk about Colton Underwood, but I don't know if you heard the story about Sergeant Jonathan Pentland. Did you hear that story yet?
I did not.
He is a white officer at Fort Jackson in Carolina, I believe, and there was a young black man walking through the neighborhood. Something happened in the neighborhood. I don't know what happened, but Sergeant Jonathan Pentland confronted the young man, laid hands on this young black man, and Sergeant Jonathan Pentland happens to be white, a pretty stocky, very athletic looking sergeant. The young man looked a little slight, a little on the small frame side. Jonathan Pentland is 42 years of age. And the young man, I'm not sure how old he was, but he appeared to be a bit younger. But in accosting this young man, Sergeant Pentland told him, you're in the wrong neighborhood. And he said, I ain't playing with you. And then he used an expletive. And you know what an expletive is? He called him a son of a biscuit eating person. That's what he did. What did I say? Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
I did. Son of a. Okay. Well, he called him one of those things and told him you're in the wrong neighborhood, pushed him, and then threatened him with physical violence and said, I ain't playing with you, blank. I'm about to show you what I can do. This is 2021, man. I mean, 2021, police officers are shooting people all over the place. Civil unrest is all around the country, and this sergeant thinks that it's time to go outside and to push a young black man and tell him he's in the wrong neighborhood, and I'm about to show you what I can do. Are people stuck on stupid these days? I'm just not sure. I didn't know if you had heard that story, Eric, because I knew if you had heard it. I know being the kind of man you are, a man of righteousness and justice, that you'd probably be on your way down to Carolina right now to grab that sergeant by the throat and to let him know this ain't gonna happen on my watch.
If anything, on a serious tip, this is all really exhausting, especially when you look at how social media is catered to the user. Not necessarily saying that this officer uses social media, but it just seems like with this age of information, people are getting more and more ignorant.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Ignorant is a good word for it. I mean, ignorant and intolerant. We don't, we have no temperance. We have no patience. We have no forbearance. I mean, somebody does something, somebody cuts you off in traffic, and it's not going to take you 2 seconds longer to get where you're going. But you've got to ride up next to him and give him the finger and hurl curse words at him. It's almost as though we are running around, and this is what Donald Trump was so good at doing, making people feel as though they were the victims to the extent that justice demand that they do something to reverse their victimhood. People who weren't anybody's victims are beginning to feel that way. And that's how this cop felt, and that's how some people are feeling in our neighborhoods. They feel
If
like,
anything, I don't act out because of the fear of the other person being ignorant. Sometimes, have you ever had somebody that
yeah,
cut you off? You say, I should cuss that sucker out," but then it's like you have no
oh,
idea if they
what
will,
they
if
got
they
in their
will.
car.
Right.
When I was a younger guy, a few years younger than you, I think I was about 25, a guy did something stupid like that to me, I mean, really stupid. And we were on a small kind of country road, and I was so furious that I drove right behind him, and when he turned into his driveway, I put my car right across his driveway and got out my car and said, now, I'm a seminary student, man, training for the ministry. Oh, man, I was so stupid. And I didn't curse at him because I'm not that kind of guy. But I said, man, have you lost your mind? And the guy said, man, you better get back in your car. I said, you need to explain to me. And we going back and forth. Next thing I know, a guy comes out the house with a gun. That gun had a barrel that was as long as the Nile River. And I thought to myself, this might be a good time to get back in the car. you know. But now I'm furious because he got this gun and he's trying to scare me. And I detest someone trying to make me afraid. Just detest it. But I got back in the car. Ultimately, I had my friend Fella with me, and Fella said, man, get in the car. But I got back in the car, but I was furious all the way. We were driving to Chicago. I was mad all the way to Chicago. I'm still mad. But, we got to give that up, man. It's time for us to do better. You know what I'm saying to you, Eric?
Yeah, almost thought you were going to say, but then I got a sandwich and I felt better. But apparently, no, you're still angry about
No,
it.
I had a sandwich, but I want to throw it at him because I was immature. And I had to grow. And I did. Ladies and gentlemen, sooner or later, I'm going to be as mature as the guy you just heard from. He is Eric Nixon. They call him Frosty Phoenix, Agent 31, the father of 16 children. And at some point today, if you should happen to call in, his will be the first voice that you will hear. Treat him kindly, and he shall do likewise, because he is the man, the myth, the legend, and the producer of Evening Words. Time for us to take our first break of the program. Coming along in just about another 7 minutes, we are joined by Reverend Dr. Donna Jones to talk about a new pathway to justice in the city of Philadelphia. All of that and a whole lot more coming your way here on Evening Words with Nick. Stay with us, folks. This is WURD 96.1, 900 AM, and we'll be back after this.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Watch for an accident with an overturned vehicle. 42 southbound between College Drive and the AC Expressway. The right lane's blocked for jam through the area. Fire and EMS are on the scene. 73 southbound at Crescent Road. Traffic lights are not working. Back on the PA side, Schuylkill eastbound jams 202 to Gulf Mills. Montgomery Drive to South Street. Westbound backs at Boulevard to Belmont. And at 202 we're heavy because of the sinkhole repair work going on there. Just the right shoulder gets by. Vine Expressway heavy in both directions the entire length. The Blue Route heavy on the northbound side between 95 and Media Swarthmore, jammed up through there. We've got some more delays on 55 northbound in Jersey, Deptford to the 42 freeway. Report brought to you by CVS. It pays to fill your prescriptions at CVS. In fact, you could earn up to $50 in extra bucks each year just for filling prescriptions. That's healthier made easier. Visit CVS today. Terms and conditions apply. Not available in all states. See cvs.com/RX rewards or the pharmacy for details. For more traffic info, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Jason Lee with your Philadelphia area traffic.
I'm Henry Louis Gates Jr. We are people of resilience. No matter what happens, we fight through the pain. We protect our traditions. We uphold our excellence. So let's protect our lives. With vaccines, we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The Germantown Friends School mission begins with a commitment to community and to the belief that academic achievement is in itself not enough. Inspired by Quaker values, GFS encourages students in preschool through grade 12 to see the world as theirs to experience, to understand, to create, and to change. Learn more about the GFS academic, arts, and athletics programs at their upcoming virtual open house, Friday, April 16th, 9 a.m. Register now at germantownfriends.org/admissions.
WURD family, the Go to Know campaign for colon cancer is up and running. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. It's that simple. Click Go to Know and get your test today.
I would like to play a little tune I just composed not so long ago.
Hey family, do you like hearing the best jazz selections aired by 3 of the best jazz announcers in Philadelphia? Well, tune in to 96.1 FM,
96.1 FM,
and 900 AM, WURD Radio, independent black media for Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Hear Freedom Sounds of Jazz 10 p.m. Fridays with your hosts in rotation, Aquila, Jonathan Bay, and David Fritz. That's 10 p.m. Friday nights on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM, independent black media.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Back with you, ladies and gentlemen, 26 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock in America's favorite city. Thank you for joining us here on WURD, your favorite conversation station. You know, one of the best messages I got all this week was that someone was listening to our show this week when we spoke to Bashir Sylvain, the actor who talked about the loss of his beautiful wife when they found out that she had colorectal cancer at the age of 32. Someone listening to that program said, I called in, I checked in, and I got myself the FIT test so that I could find out what my colorectal condition was, the FIT kit. You don't know what the FIT kit is? Let me tell you a little bit more about it. WURD Radio has partnered up with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, and LabCorp. And we've all gotten together to make sure that you can improve or at least discover the status of your colorectal health. The name of the campaign is called Go to Know. There's a reason why it's called Go to Know, because that's all you have to do. It's a public health campaign to reduce colorectal cancer in the Black community, where Black people are disproportionately negatively impacted by colorectal cancer for a variety of reasons. But the good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. Colorectal cancer, although it's the second fastest killer of diseases in Black America, it can be checked. It can be prevented. All you have to do is find out what condition your condition is in, and we're making it really easy for you. All you need to do is get yourself a FIT kit. Now, a FIT kit is an at-home colorectal cancer screening test. They call it a FIT kit because it's a little tiny thing, and you can be fit just by using it. It takes 2 minutes to do it. It's designed to provide early detection of colorectal cancer, and it doesn't require any fasting or any colon cleanses. You don't have to drink any prep. You don't have to stay for hours in the bathroom cleansing your system out. And the test is done in less than 2 minutes. Ask me how I know? Because I did it. Most importantly, you'll know, and your loved ones will know, and you will know about your loved ones how your colorectal health condition is. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner at the top of the page. That's wordradio.com, and click on the Go to Know banner at the top of the page. You can't miss it. It's that banner with the great big roll of toilet paper right there. And if you don't have a computer or you prefer not to use one, just call 1-877-422-2030. That's 877-422-2030, and you can find out how your colorectal health is by getting a free at-home FIT kit screening test. This public service is brought to you by our friends at the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, LabCorp, and of course, your family right here at WURD Radio. We want to make sure that you live a long and happy life free of colorectal cancer, okay? All right, good people and bad people as well. Everybody, get it done. And it's free. I mean, that's the best price that's out there today. It is absolutely positively free. Okay. In a couple of seconds, we'll be checking in with Donna Jones to talk about a new pathway to justice. And it's about time, because our justice system ain't always just. While we're talking about justice, there's been another smear on the name of the police officers of the city of Philadelphia. Sergeant Michael Kennedy was indicted yesterday for making false statements to the FBI for obstruction and conspiracy to make a false statement. In other words, not only did you lie, but you got together with some other people and told them to lie for you. Sergeant Michael Kennedy is up on charges now. And joining in that sad parade is Officer James Saxton, who was arrested by the Philadelphia Police Department's Internal Affairs Division and charged with perjury. Now, Kennedy was charged with stealing money. They say that he took money from the proceeds of drug trafficking from a nightstand during a drug-related search warrant in 2016. That's 5 years ago. Man, if he did that, God only knows what happened in the next 5 years. That's 5 years ago. Well, anyway, for stealing money, I often wondered about that. And James Saxton supposedly in 2019 gave false statements during a preliminary hearing when he was sworn under oath. The hearing was for a defendant that he had arrested after he claimed to have witnessed a drug transaction. So they're saying he lied on a defendant. Now, you know, the bad thing about it, you've heard that saying, united we stand, divided we fall. It means if we stand together, we're okay. But if we separate, we may go down. The truth of the matter is, when you are a police officer, it's divided we stand, united we fall. You're out there by yourself doing whatever you think you're big and bold enough to do, and you're okay, you're standing. But when you go down, you take everybody with you. Yeah, it's so sad. The divided we stand, united we fall when you are an officer of the law. We'll talk about that story a little bit later on. It's always sad when you've got to visit members of the police community being arrested. Speaking of justice, though, ladies and gentlemen, the Justice Department, the Criminal Justice Division, is not always administering justice. Sometimes all they do is apply laws. What we need are systems that allow us to really visit justice, balanced and restorative justice. And we're not doing nothing when it comes to trying to bring that to bear. There's an organization in the city of Philadelphia that's been around now for well over a half century, trying to bring righteousness to the community in meaningful and practical ways. They're called the Metropolitan Christian Council of Philadelphia. And here, the fearless leader of that august assembly, my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Donna Jones, is here to tell us about a new pathway to justice that they're trying to hardwire into the system. And she comes with a guest. First of all, greetings to you, good sister. And if you'd be so kind as to introduce our guest for us.
Here is
there you go.
Needs no introduction. our Philadelphia Legal Eagle. And when we think about justice and we think about our Restorative Cities initiative, which is an initiative of Metropolitan Christian Council to bring restorative justice and restorative principles to every neighborhood in Philly. As we've been doing this work, we were blessed to meet Brother Troy Wilson, who is a private attorney here in Philadelphia. He's a guy of the people, for the people, and designed a program of restorative justice, a model that's going to be Philadelphia's first restorative justice model with adults. And the good news and the thing I get excited about with that is that I believe Brother Troy demonstrates what ordinary people can do that have an idea. Because this program, none of what I'm going to talk about or that Troy is going to talk about is being done by the government. It is being done by the community. We don't get grants for this. Is what we're doing because we love our people. So Troy is the one who came up with a marvelous model that's being applied to the folk who are facing charges following last year's civic unrest. And he went old school community organizing to gather people to support that model. And he knocked on my door, and I was dumb enough not to say no. And he wrote me in, and he's roping people in all through the city to do this thing. And we are so excited because it's grassroots, it's coming from the community, for the community, by the community. And there's collateral benefit because people in the community of all races are benefiting from the model that goes perfectly with the Restorative Cities model that MCCP has.
Well, before we go any further, Counselor, let me just make sure, because whenever I talk to a lawyer, I have to ask this question. Now, these aren't billable hours, are they?
No, they're not billable hours.
Excellent, excellent.
If they were, you'd have to put me on layaway.
My man, my man. Well, Counselor, first of all, let me just tip my hat and say thank you for what you are doing as an attorney. And Donna, of course, always thank you for the work that you do. But let's start at the base. Why do we need a new format, a new system of justice that seeks to remedy some of the ills in society? What's wrong with the current system?
My first response was my mother's response. How's it working for us?
True. Technically, if we were to ask for chapter and verse, Counselor, and say, what does our current justice system get wrong in its attempt to administer justice in society, what would you put your finger on as an attorney of law?
Honestly, I would put my finger on what does it get right. The system seems to be designed to commoditize Black bodies and brown bodies. It has done a superb job, an ingenious job of doing that, and thereby destroying our communities for a long, long period of time. So you can look at it at the point like, oh, the system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Is justice? This justice every now and then, but not the way that we need justice. So that's how I looked at it. What we have to check, like Reverend Donna said, we came up with this model because what I realized that for purposes of our community, the system was not working on individual levels at time or collectively either at times. And so we had to come up with a different model. And we also had to take a lot of the players that were involved that were problematic as it relates to the administration of criminal justice in our communities. We had to try to find a way to keep them players out. Y'all sit this one out. Sit on the bench. Take a look while we do some things here that we have never really been done before in Philadelphia. Sit this out. Y'all look. We'll get back in touch with you, because we want to try to give, ultimately, we want to give the powers back to the community in these kinds of situations. And that's what the restorative initiative is all about. And I know Reverend Donna can talk even more about that globally.
Well, Reverend Donna, I mean, first of all, the system that exists does so with the authority of law, and then added to that, the power of incumbency. It's been there forever. What does it take to get them, as Counselor Wilson says, what does it take to get those folks to back up and take a back seat so that we can employ another system that purports to bring a better form of justice to us?
I think one thing that it takes is education. Our society, from Philadelphia all the way out, we are the people that we the people talk about. And why I get so excited about Troy's system is that it's something that came from a person and a people. And the people said to the powers that be, we the people want this. That's why public policy training is part of our training, so that we might know our power. They don't do anything to us. They do what we allow them to do.
Yeah.
And we are the ones that elect judges, we elect district attorneys, we elect council people. So they are there, and you know this, Nick, from your illustrious career in city government. They will get, and we
hadn't
know
heard that word used with it, but yes, I'll take that.
We also know it from what we're seeing out of hand on the right. They're responding to the people. And people that we put in office will respond to the people. So as long as we exercise our power and know the places where we can leverage those powers, we can change the law.
Let's take a practical look at this, Counselor, and we'll set up a straw man, a model, to take a look and do some comparison, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back. And if people want to ask questions, we'll make room for that. Let's say that I see Reverend Donna's car with her purse sitting on the seat. I take a brick and I throw it through the window. Typically what happens is the police come, arrest me, and then a system takes place. How does the system that we're talking about here, this new restorative system, how does it differ from the system that currently is in place? Counselor.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you wanted me to. Okay. Well, basically, in that situation, what will happen is the person gets physically arrested by the police. The first step, person gets arrested. Second step, the person is processed, fingerprinted, or what have you, mugshots. Third step, the person then gets a bail hearing. Okay, let's start with that. There's problems rife with bail hearings, with cash bail in general. We could spend 5 hours on that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go to the next step. So the person will go through the system, right?
Okay.
And then ultimately there will be a guilty plea. Most of the time there are guilty pleas of some sort, but then the system says, oh, it's known as a guilty plea, but you got to pay some money. You got to pay restitution. You got to pay out of your pocket. And then after that happens in that particular situation, depending on the person's background, they'll either be able to be placed into what's called a pretrial diversionary program, or they're going to plead guilty. And then if the person pleads guilty, the person has an arrest record for the rest of their lives that could potentially impact their lives in a negative way. And remember, not just their lives. If this person is a daddy, is a member of a family, that person may be restricted in getting a job to help pay for his family, to do his part in paying his family's bills, pay for his children's education or whatever. So there are real life ramifications to that one act that will go on even after the person has been punished. So we're not talking about, oh, you shouldn't be punished, but at a certain level, why, if I'm the child of that person, why are you punishing me? If I'm the member of that community, why are you punishing me?
Okay.
10 years down the line, and if I'm that person who did a silly act and threw a brick through a window out of desperation or whatever, stupidity or financial desperation or whatever, why are you still punishing me because I can't get it? I'm having a hard time keeping a job for 10 or 20 years because of that arrest.
We take
So
your
that's what
point,
happens, yeah.
and you make a great point. So how does the system of restorative and balanced justice, how does it differ from that system that you just painted for us?
I'm gonna let Donna handle that part of it, and I'll chime in afterwards.
Okay. Reverend Donna?
Well, first of all, we don't need the police involved. That's
what? What? Really?
No, we don't. And I have, that has happened to me without the police. Somebody breaks in and takes something. We have some choices. Do we call the cops or do we call the community? We can call the community. You know, that literally happened. Community came around, had the conversation, got the sorries, got everything back, including the paper clips that were resting at the bottom of the bag. And relationships continued in the community. Nobody got arrested, and I never got nothing stolen again.
Right. So this is not, we're not talking hypotheticals here. This is a system that not only can work, but has worked. And I'm talking to somebody who is the fruit, who is the example of it working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't need the cops.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not simply novel. This is revolutionary, because I remember attending a meeting years ago, Dr. Jones, when as a young minister, they were meeting at our church to talk about the ravages and the evils of the police department. Like somebody ran in and said, they broke into the cars out there. Literally, we had a meeting talking about how bad the police are. They said they broke into the cars. And somebody said, call the cops. I mean, and we are in love with the idea of calling police, but you're saying we can actually call ourselves. We're going to take a quick break because time is a-fleeting, and then we'll come back and continue to talk about a new model of administering justice in the community for us and by us. Oh, wait a minute. It's almost a FUBU method. We're talking with attorney Troy Wilson and Reverend Dr. Donna Jones, who is the executive director of the Metropolitan Christian Council of the city of Philadelphia. We'll be right back to continue this very interesting conversation after these few words.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery, right here on WURD Radio. Want the latest in WURD swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Nappy Style hair products are formulated for today's black men and women's hair, embracing ancestral hairstyles. Come and experience these products: beard oil for men, cream paste, and napping gel growth oil for braids. Go to www.nappystyles.com or The Movement in Mount Airy, 7133 Germantown Avenue, or African Cultural Art Forum, 221 South 52nd Street, or Culture Exchange, 1450 Point Breeze Avenue. Be happy to be nappy.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
We're talking about changing the way we live and administer justice here today. Welcome back to you, ladies and gentlemen. My guest in the virtual studio, Reverend Dr. Donna Jones of the Metropolitan Christian Council of Philadelphia, attorney at law Troy Wilson, and we're talking about a new model of administering justice in our communities where you don't make criminals out of people, but where the community itself polices itself. And we're back to discuss that. And when we left, Reverend Jones, we talked about something that's not hypothetical. You said that this system works because it has worked for you already.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what I asked Troy was that, now how do we find the people? How do we create in our communities? Because strangely enough, even though we don't trust the police, oftentimes we trust each other even a little less. So how do we find the credible personalities in our community? Can we do that? Can we locate the credible people and empower them to help us construct models of justice?
You find people where they are. You talk to folks like they're not some daggone fools. You let people in the community know that, look, we got a way potentially for you to empower yourselves. Let them know that they already possess a tremendous power to heal themselves in their communities, but it has to be trained and it has to be utilized. But if it's done properly, and if they follow those steps, they will be able to regain a portion of the power of their community that they either abdicated or that they just left to someone else. To understand that there's a different way. You don't have to bring the cops in for everything. Maybe you're saving someone's life, Walter Wallace Jr., by not bringing in the cops and attempting to settle a situation or a gun beef or a violence beef. You're trying to settle a situation with the community being as the mediator, confronting them, healing, educating them, all in these circles. And Donna can talk about those details in a few minutes. But those are just some of the ways. You're letting people know, I hear you. The system hasn't worked. A lot of these players historically haven't worked. But real talk, utilizing those people and those services have not made our communities safer. That's the thing from a statistical standpoint. Like back in, remember the drug age, crack cocaine and all this stuff. Listen, we call the cops all the time. Help us, save us. And they were more than happy to come in, crack some heads and arrest a bunch of people and put people in jail because it was just black bodies. Nobody cared like they do now when you get the opioid crisis, where people, I see Governor Christie doing commercials where he's putting his arm around people. Look at this person. We got to treat this person. So why couldn't my relatives get that same kind of treatment? What we got instead was mass incarceration. And when I talk to community groups is, we got mass incarceration. White people didn't get mass incarceration. We got a lack of care. White people didn't get that. More importantly, our communities were never made safer. Statistically, it is proven that our communities were not made safe. I grew up in the South Bronx in the projects, man, during the crack epidemic. My community still wasn't safe, despite the fact that you had a heavy police presence and a lot of arrests. So what we tell people, we explain all of that to people, we say, but there's a better way. There's a better way that hasn't been done before in Philadelphia with adults. There's a way that Donna and her group are trying to spread across Pennsylvania to try to show people to change those dynamics and to try to find a different way to help people change their lives and collectively have communities save themselves and heal themselves without the intervention of the players who have historically caused problems within our communities.
Well, clearly it doesn't end with this one conversation today, but Reverend Dr. Donna Jones, people are saying, this sounds really good. It's something I want to see happen. Is there a pathway for people to participate in this evolution of justice? And if so, how can they avail themselves of this opportunity?
It's very easy. First of all, djones@mccpphilly.org. That's my email address. People can just email to their heart's content. People can also call or text us at 267-886-3139. People can also come by 51st and Spruce and say, hey, how do I get involved? There's a lot of ways to get involved, and the ways to get involved are really going to be and are being communicated in the neighborhoods of Philadelphia. So what we've been doing with Restorative Cities Initiative is training people at the grassroots levels, we say from the porch to City Hall, in restorative practices. Restorative justice is us making application of restorative practices to justice. So we would be training people in the skills necessary. So if you think of first aid and mental health first aid, once first aid gets taught, mental health first aid gets taught, we're able to respond because we have the tools. What MCCP is doing is giving the tools at a community-based level, and then as whole neighborhoods are trained, as soon as we have 40 people trained cross-sector, and that means you have the neighbor, you have the person from out of town with out-of-town tags but spends more time in the neighborhood than they spend in their own house. You have the business owners, you have the school people, you have everybody getting trained together. We don't do a training for clergy. We don't do a training for residents. We do a training of everyone in the neighborhood together. It's Mr. Rogers. Who are the people in the neighborhood? Funeral directors, doctors, everybody. Once we have at least 40 people trained in any one neighborhood, we work with them to develop their neighborhood restorative justice plan. And part of our training includes training in truth and reconciliation, and it includes training in public policy, so that the neighbors can come up with the policies that go with their community's RJ plan. And then we share that plan, and our hope, and it's been done, is that we've had trainings where the police of that community have also come to the training with the community. So once that plan is done, all the stakeholders have contributed to the plan. Now folk know this is a trained community. One of the things that was saddest for me, I was doing some work with the Juvenile Justice Services Center with our kids, and I walked in and it was like, I had to ask Tameen, how come 90% of these kids look like me? Is it because nobody commits a crime in certain zip codes? Is it that no white kid commits a crime, no Asian kid commits a crime, and the 3 Latin kids are here are the only ones that committed anything? How come these people all look like us? And what I heard was, and this is what she was saying, she was speaking for a perception. There's a perception that we have where we say our kids need to be locked up and we drop them off. We say our kids need to be locked up, so we call the cops. So we're driving a system that's killing us. And so what this is doing is putting the tools in our hands to say, we don't have to call the cops on this thing. Because in those other communities, the first step is not to call the cops. That's why they're not locking up their kids, because that's not the first step. The first step is the community. What we're doing is giving people the tools necessary to respond at the first step level. We can handle this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about an evolution in our communities where we empower ourselves to administer the justice that we seek. Now, Reverend Dr. Jones gave you a couple of contact information points, and I know that you were licking the tip of that felt tip pen and shaking that ink pen and trying to make it work, and it didn't, but you just got working now. So I'm going to ask the good Reverend Doctor if she would give you those contact points again so that you can avail yourself of an opportunity to empower your community by becoming a part of the justice apparatus in it. Reverend Jones, if you'd be so kind.
Yes, D Jones at mccpphilly.com. That's my email address. Phone number is 267-886-3139. And then our website, www.metropolitanchristiancouncil.com. That's a big, long website name.
Yeah, you put enough in there, your browser just go ahead and find the rest of it for you. Trust me, I know. We've been speaking with Reverend Dr. Donna Jones, who is Executive Director of the Metropolitan Christian Council of Philadelphia. It is a venerable organization that has been working within the city since, what, 1945, Donna? Is that?
Yeah, you did your homework, yes.
I ain't playing. Every once in a while I get a little wood on the ball. And we've been joined in this conversation by attorney at law Troy Wilson, who seems to be committed to making me give up my old animus toward the Bronx, because this good brother is making me think that something really good can come out of New York and become a part of the Philadelphia community and administer justice. I want to thank both of you for all that you are doing. Last question, Counselor, is to you. People are saying, I don't want to be burdened with the task of having to do all this. Ain't that what we pay the cops for? What do you say to them when they say something that's stupid? I mean, what do you say when they say something like that?
And like Reverend Donna said earlier in the conversation, how's that working for you? How's that working for you? What I'm doing specifically with Reverend Donna's help, by the way, we have developed a model for, there's a bunch of protest cases from George Floyd to all the way up to and including, but not limited to, the Walter Wallace cases. So we took, as attorneys, we took a group of these cases and we said, hey, we're going to represent some of these people for free, pro bono. But what we also decided to do, my group of attorney friends and I, including Michael Cord, who's your WURD colleague, he's in my group. We decided we're going to take some of these cases free, but we're also I wanted to develop a program, and we wanted to develop a program that just with those cases, that would experiment with adult cases to get these cases physically out of the system using restorative justice principles where these people would re-engage in the community. They'd meet with members of the community, members of the affected businesses of the community that have been harmed and damaged. They would all meet, congregate, mediate, talk, concentrate on each other, heal each other, gain education on why things got to this point, gain education on what restorative justice is all about, what protest is all about, and then have the healing. And then those people would also re-engage with the community as well. Once they're done with the program, they're done, their charges get dismissed, and their charges get expunged or erased forever at no charge to those people.
We are out of time, but I'm going to ask this to you in the 20 seconds I have left, and I only need one word from both of you. Can we get some of the participants to come back maybe next week or the week after to talk about their experience so that we can show people what this looks like? Can we get that promise from the two of you?
We can probably get that, and yes.
Yeah.
I love that the way the pastor said yes. The lawyer said, let me hedge this a little bit for you. We want to thank our guest, Reverend Dr. Donna Jones of the Metropolitan Christian Council of Philadelphia, attorney at law Troy Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, we are changing the world right here from heart to heart. I want to thank you both. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to break your heart even as we make you glad by talking about the death of a young man, but even more so talking about a life, a 15-year-old by the name of Antonio Walker, gone too soon, but boy, in the 15 years that he was here, did he make a difference. We'll tell you more about that after our break. 2 minutes away from the hour, 5 o'clock. This is WURD 900 AM, 96.1 FM, and we'll be back after these words.
We are people of resilience, so let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
At Bank of America, we believe in the power of collaboration to create jobs and fuel economic opportunity. That's why we're working with local organizations to help people get the skills they need and build a growing pipeline of talent.
I'm Jim Dever, Bank of America Greater Philadelphia Market President. Our partnership with Philadelphia Youth Network is just one way we're taking action to help more members of our community. What would you like the power to do?
Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, equal credit opportunity lender.
Spring forward to throwback. All this month, when you start or renew your WURD membership, you'll get exclusive WURD throwback swag, vintage backpacks, books, and tees. While supplies last. Offer ends April 30th. Sow seeds into Black Talk Media and grow with us. Visit wordradio.com/join now to start or renew today.
Hey WURD family, have you heard of the new Go to Know campaign? If not, here is the deal. WURD Radio has partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Penn Medicine, LabCorp, and the Independence Blue Cross Foundation to present the Go to Know Fit Kit Screening Campaign. The Go to Know campaign is an at-home screening test for colon cancer. Yup, you heard me right. You can take your own stool sample and mail it back for testing. Did you know colon cancer, if caught early, is 100% preventable? African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. Plus, it is recommended you get screened if you are 45 years of age or older. So for the next 6 months, you can go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and request your free at-home screening test. That's it. Go to Know today.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at WURD. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are living at a time where we recognize that violence is walking our streets as though the violence owns it. But we are not doing nothing when it comes to violence. We are making sure that we apply our hands and our hearts to making a difference. With that being said, let me lay out for you the heartrending narrative that brings us to this moment. On March the 9th, about 7 o'clock in the evening, in the King Sessing section of the city of Philadelphia, a beautiful, bright, intelligent, and beloved young man was walking down the street like young men are supposed to do. A car comes through the neighborhood, a window rolls down, a weapon is pointed out of the window, and gunshots are heard. After things settle down, this young man is laying on the ground. They take him to Penn Presby Hospital, and although the doctors there work with all of their might and all of their skill, they cannot bring back to us the beautiful life that has been taken by the violence that stalks our streets, even now at noonday. And we lost the life of Antonio Walker, but he is not simply a statistic. The newspapers say he was the 91st person murdered on the streets of Philadelphia. But we're here today to raise his name not simply as someone who died, but as someone who lived. And joining us in the studio are individuals who will help us to remember the life of Antonio Walker and who will help us also to begin to look in the direction of ways of healing the violence in our land. Let me introduce them to you, starting with some of his classmates and then moving forward to the woman who wrote an elegy that was so moving that it led me to chase her down like the IRS until I could bring her to these airwaves. First up, we have joining us one of his classmates who is here, and let me tell you, this gentleman is stunning in appearance, broad-shouldered, of intelligent mien, dignified, and just waiting for the world to open the doors to welcome him to the success that will surely be his, and that is Mr. Jalen Berkeley. Jalen, how you doing today, sir?
I'm fine. I'm living. I'm blessed.
Yeah, I am just so proud of these gentlemen, how smooth they are. He had his Zoom on mute when it was his time to talk. The mute came off, and he moved to the microphone and said, "I'm fine. I'm living. I'm blessed." I mean, that's what you're talking about, young people who are ready. Joining us also is a young lady who has devoted herself to bettering herself and to become a contributing force for good in the community in which she is placed. Please make welcome Miss Alana Walker Kegler. Did I say your name right, Alana?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the first time somebody actually said my whole name correctly, so thank you.
Hey, look, Alana, when your name is Nick Taliaferro, you try a little bit harder. You try a little bit harder. And now joining us is the woman who really did the yeoman's work to pull all of this together. I don't even know what I was looking for online, but I happened to cross an article in something called the Chalk Book, the Chalkboard, something like that. It's
I think, yeah.
Chalk Beat. It was chalk with a B, and I'm reading it, and I don't even know where I found it, but it begins to talk about a teacher who lost a student at the age of 15, and then I remembered the case, and I read the story until tears came out of my eyes. She is what we look for when we talk about people who are dedicated to their students and dedicated to the task of being an instructor in today's educational system. Please make welcome our instructor for the day, Jennifer Hopkins Doherty. Miss Jenny, may I call you that?
Yes, please.
I want to thank you so much first for that moving elegy that you wrote about your student, Antonio Walker. And what led you to write that elegy? I mean, of course, he was a fine young man, but as a teacher, what moved you to write?
Well, I was just so really devastated and shocked about the event, and I was just processing my own feelings. So I just was writing to process my own feelings. And then I showed some friends of mine, and they said, you should try to submit that, because people don't know. They really don't know unless it crosses their path, that these things are happening. So some communities in our city, it's very, very common occurrence, all too common. But for many, unfortunately, and I live in Lower Merion, and there's a lot of obliviousness. So in that vein, I did want to share it.
Jalen, you are a young black man, and you may not be able to tell by looking at me, but I used to be young once, way back when Abraham Lincoln was a child. I too was a young black man, but as a young black man living in the city of Philadelphia, I'm imagining that you have seen violence before. I have two questions for you. Have you lost anyone else before we lost Antonio? And the question that I have that's even deeper than that was, What was that moment like when you got word that your god brother, your good friend Antonio, was gone forever?
So for the first question, yeah, I have lost someone. Um, I wasn't as close to him as like for like my mother, but I still knew him. It was my uncle, and he died I think in 2019. Basically, my uncle was just walking on the street one day, and I'm guessing he had like some type of beef, whatever. I'm guessing he had some type of beef with other people. Walking down the street one day, Joshua Isaiah Williams shot and killed, murdered. They never caught the killers. They don't know who killed them, but we just know that whoever killed them, I'm guessing he had beef with. And it didn't hit me as much as it hurt my mom because he was my uncle, but I didn't see him all the time. I still knew his name, knew what he did, but I didn't see him all the time. My mom broke down. That was basically her best friend. It was really moving for her. It was like a turning point in her life.
Wow. And so at you know, with that as a part of your history, then you lose your, if I'm correct, your god brother Antonio. How did you get the word, and what response did it cause in your young life when you found out that you had lost your god brother?
So I found out because his dad had posted something on, I believe, Instagram. And my parents, my parents know Antonio's parents, and my grandparents know Antonio's grandparents. So they all they follow each other. And when he posted it, my mom knew immediately because she was also posting on She was also on Instagram. So my mom started crying. She was tearing up. He asked me to come downstairs. I walked downstairs and he showed me a picture of Antonio. Do you know who this boy Antonio is? Right? And I'm like, yeah. She told me that, he was shot and killed like, I think like an hour ago. It was really moving. Antonio's the last person I expected to see die like that. One of the reasons why is because he was never a troublemaker. He was never any person like that. He was so spiritual and weak. It didn't seem like he died so early like that. I felt like he would have lived longer, way longer than any of us actually. He was such a bright person. Just to see him get killed like that. So it was really...
that's what I've been hearing. Alana, you were also on the track team that Antonio excelled on, and my understanding is that you were one of his best friends. Tell me a little bit more. I mean, I feel cheated. I read nothing but cold news stories that just talked about a 15-year-old, but you knew him more than just a 15-year-old. He's not a victim to you. He's a teammate. He's a friend. He's a person. Help me to know the person that I've been cheated out of knowing by this act of violence.
Yeah, so Antonio, he walked in the room, he lit it up. You could automatically see that he had a big smile on his face, black Timbs. He just was a very happy person. You could tell that, and anybody around him was going to be happy after being in that circle with him. On the track field, always motivated, keeping everybody right in the right mindset, because track is hard. You got to be in the right headspace, and you got to be athletic. It was a lot because for him, it wasn't just track. For him, it was a way of growing up. It was something new. It was his future. For every people that was on the team, they just seen it as, I'm staying in shape. But for him, that was really his life. Like, he was dedicated to track. Like his mom said, Antonio would practice on the track field and even outside of the track field. When we didn't have practice at all, he would be always grinding 24/7. It was nonstop for him.
Wow. We've been joined by another one of Antonio's classmates. Kyrie Hampton comes to the party to be a part of our conversation about this young man that we lost far too soon. Kyrie, welcome to the program. Unmute yourself and introduce yourself if you would be so kind.
Hi, I'm Kyrie Hampton. I wanted Antonio like real close friends.
Okay.
Like, my bad.
Yeah, well, you want to get yourself together there, Kyrie? I don't. Are you on a bus or something, man? what, what are you doing? Making a sandwich, Kyrie? Did they tell you this was radio, my friend? You all right?
I just got off of practice.
Okay, yeah, you got a little bit of noise behind you there. I tell you, find yourself a quiet place there so that we can hear you really clearly, because as one of Antonio's best friends, mute yourself for a moment, but as one of his best friends, we want to make sure that when we hear you completely. Tell me more about the school, Miss Jenny, the school that Antonio was a part of. I'm looking at these young people, and I'm beginning to realize that this school seems to be breeding some very special young folks. Give us a little bit more of the lay of the land there.
We're a charter school. There's a middle school in the Jefferson Market area, Jefferson Station, where I taught with a lot of these kids in 8th grade. So I knew Antonio in person in 8th grade. I was lucky enough to know him in person before the pandemic happened. This whole year has been virtual for us. So yeah, and I think Freire has, it's based on the philosophy of Paulo Freire, who was a educational philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
And his basic sort of philosophy was to use the tools of the oppressor to free the oppressed and the whole society. So really that's kind of where we come from, is that idea of preparing kids to be part of the real world, the big world, mainstream world, go to college and participate in making our culture better, our society better, and fixing all these things that we know are wrong. And I think really the point that we're seeing head on right now is with this whole situation with Antonio, the adults are not able to fix the problem.
True.
Really, in Freire, what we try to do is encourage kids to grow, to blossom, to flourish, and to know their own strengths and strengthen their weaknesses and develop their voices so that they can be meaningful participants in our whole world better.
For those of you just joining us, we're speaking with individuals who are classmates of Antonio Walker. Antonio Walker was killed on March the 9th at around 7 o'clock in the evening in the King Sessing section of the city of Philadelphia into the 5200 block of Pentridge Street. He was a beautiful young man with a beautiful mind, with a beautiful future, a track star, and with friends who loved him, cared about him. They're here today to help us to recreate a life that many of us have been cheated out of knowing because of the spirit of murder. Jalen and Alana, I want to ask a question. And I don't want you guys to say anything that will either get you in trouble or anything like this, but everybody knows that the streets are talking when things like this happen, that people know that something was going on. Have they found out what led to this unfortunate loss of life? Has it been noised abroad as to why this came about, this act of violence? Jalen, I see you reaching for the mute button, so we'll start with you and then we'll go to Alana.
Nothing but really rumors. I haven't heard anyone saying we know why he died. We caught, who did it. But I've heard one, and I don't like really spreading false rumors, but I have heard one, is that one of the people in his family was fighting with a person. That seems to be really common, I believe.
Yeah, a beef starts with somebody and somebody takes it out, and yeah.
That's all I know.
Insane. Alana, I mean, as Jalen said, you hear all sorts of things, but the fact of the matter is, and I was looking for the last several days because I kept thinking that, well, I must have missed it because something like this had to be reported. I mean, a life like this being taken, somebody had to tell. But as I looked through the paper, Alana, I realized that I could not find anywhere where they had captured anyone in connection with this act of violence. What does that do to you as a young person when something so valuable and so precious can be taken from you and there's nobody to hold accountable yet?
It's like you don't know who to be mad at, and it starts to revolve on you blaming yourself for some things. Because literally, before this all happened, I texted Antonio, and we was really close in school. We got on the L together. We got on the trolley together, went home together every single day after practice and everything. So me hearing that nobody was caught, it's just like, what are we doing wrong? Something can't just happen and we just not gonna like push to like find who did it. We're not just gonna let this settle for a bit, because that's what I was hearing too, that they were just gonna wait for everything to calm down. When is it ever gonna calm down? Because the numbers are rising each and every day, every second. Like it's like, so it doesn't make sense.
Kyrie, let's see how you're sounding right there. As a young man in this city, facing the as Alana just mentioned, the rising numbers, where young people who are just going about the business of their lives can become targets of hatred and violence and just a lack of human compassion. Does it make you more afraid, or does it make you think that you have to be harder when something like this happens and nobody is caught and life just goes on?
It makes me more aware of like what's going on around everywhere. Like makes me think like I gotta really watch my back, because people really just do it out of anger or just to do it because they don't got nothing else to do.
I hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with students from Prairie. Is it high school or middle school, Miss Jenny? Is it?
Sorry, it's a high school. So like I was saying earlier, I knew that some of these I knew these kids in the middle school. I taught at the middle school.
Okay.
And then high school's around the Rittenhouse Square area on 20th and Chestnut.
Not a bad area to be
Ninth
around.
grade. Yeah.
But we're talking to these students as we revisit the life of Antonio Walker. He was a 15-year-old track star, and on March the 9th, we lost him when someone fired a weapon out of a moving car. And unfortunately, Antonio was hit, and they could not save his life. And we are now recreating that life for you because we recognize that we've all been cheated out of something beautiful by the loss of that life. And we are trying to at least do justice to his memory. We're joined by Jalen Berkeley, his good friend, and his godbrother, it appears to say here, Alana Walker Kegler, who was on the track team with him and was his traveling buddy going back and forth to school on the L, and Kyrie Hampton, who joins us also. And they're all in the presence of one of their instructors, Miss Jennifer Hopkins Doherty, known as Miss Jenny. And so we're continuing this conversation. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation with our guest as we reprise and represent the life of Antonio Walker, gone too soon, but still fresh in our minds, our hearts, and our memories. You're listening to 900 AM, WURD 96.1 FM, and we'll be coming back to continue this conversation after these messages.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Watch for an accident this afternoon on the 42 freeway, southbound side between College Drive and the AC Expressway. This involves an overturned vehicle. The right lane is blocked. Delays go back to Lower Landing Road. Fire and EMS are on the scene. Gaper delays formed on the northbound side as well. And we've got some volume on 55 northbound Deptford to the 42 freeway. Back on the PA side, Schuylkill westbound Heavy City Avenue to Belmont. Also at 202, we still have that sinkhole repair work going on. Just the right shoulder gets by. Elsewhere, 95 is heavy on the northbound side. Betsy Ross Bridge to Bridge Street, and southbound we back up through the construction, Cottman Avenue to Bridge Street. Report brought to you by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. When it comes to driving, multitasking is not worth a life. Driving is a skill that requires 100% of your attention 100% of the time. Distractions are everywhere. Don't drive distracted. Be safe, PA. Learn more at penndot.gov/safety, paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars. And for more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Jason Lee with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD Radio weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Brittany Ship.
Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 41. Then on Friday, it'll be a chilly start to the morning. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s, which will give way to a windy and chilly day. We'll see clouds increasing towards the afternoon, a high of 57. Saturday, partly sunny and totally dry, a high of 61. Sunday, clouds return once again with a chance of showers, a high of 62. By Monday, mostly cloudy and a chance of showers still lingering in the forecast. At least temperatures are back to our seasonal average of 64. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Brittany Ship with your most accurate forecast.
You probably heard it before, but one of the best ways to stay safe from COVID is by avoiding crowds. That's better. Also, when you're out in public, make sure you stay 6 feet away from strangers or people you don't live with. It's okay to say, "Can I have some space, please?"
Well, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day today, and we can expect much.
If you're gonna have a get-together with friends and family, have it outside. And remember to keep those 6 feet of social distance. And last but not least, wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth with no gaps. They slow the spread of COVID or new forms of the virus called variants. And make sure you get your vaccine when it's your turn. We're all out here trying our best, and it's making a difference. We just gotta keep it up. We can do this.
To learn more about slowing the spread, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Join WURD Radio for our 6th annual Jackie Robinson Day live broadcast, Thursday, April 15th from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m., hosted by Charles Ellison and Andrea Lawful Sanders. In celebration of Jackie Robinson, who revolutionized Major League Baseball by breaking racial barriers, this year we're taking a look at how Robinson and other black athletes have played a pivotal role in advocating for social justice. You don't want to miss it. Thursday, April 15th from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio's special Jackie Robinson Day celebration is brought to you by Pico, Brown's Family ShopRite, and the Family Business Partners, Hers Snack Food, Amoroso's, and Deaton Watson. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Back with you, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening strong to WURD AM 996.1 FM in America's favorite city, the city of Philadelphia. How you doing? I'm Nick Taliaferro. The name of the program is Evening Words, and we are talking today with 3 of Philadelphia's finest students about one of Philadelphia's finest students. We lost Antonio Walker on March the 9th when someone, and we still don't know who it is, pointed a firearm out of a moving car. We lost that young man, but his legacy still burns bright, and it does so in the form and from the hearts of the 3 friends who are with us today. Jalen Berkeley is with us. Just found out that Jalen Berkeley is going to be the next Steve Jobs, but this time with a little bit more melanin happening for him because he built his own computer. Alana Walker Kegler is going to be the sequel to Hidden Figures because it is her idea and her attempt to be an astronomer, because she said, if not only will I be a star, but I will identify them when I look into the heavens. And Kyrie Hampton is actually on his way home from having practice. He is on the L because he says he owns that thing. And they're all in the presence of one of their illustrious teachers, the woman who got it all started by writing a moving elegy about Antonio Walker, Jennifer Hopkins Doherty, known as Miss Jenny. We want to open the phone lines now because I want some of you who are listening to call first to console and offer your support to these young people. Secondly, to ask them questions about their young lives as we are facing the worst spate of violence ever to be seen in the city of Philadelphia. Here's the phone line. Here's the number, 215-634-8065. 215-634-8065 is the number. Once again, 215-634-8065. Let these young people hear from you so that you can lend to them some encouragement and support as they move forward carrying this loss that they carry. Last but not least, let me just ask all 3 of you this question. We're going into the summer. You've already heard the dire numbers. I grew up at a time when gang warfare was the enemy of young black lives. I grew up in North Philadelphia, and it was a very difficult time, but this time is actually even worse. They're saying that we could have upwards of 600 murders if things don't change. Starting with ladies first, Alana, what do you think that we need to do to bring peace back to the streets? What do we need to do to confront individuals who are picking up guns and being violent? I know it might not be fair, Alana, but you know what they say. Sometimes when you're beautiful, you go first. And so what do you think we need to do in the city of Philadelphia to bring peace back to our city?
I feel like everybody needs to stop butting heads with each other and look at one another as we're family. Like, we're all going through the same thing. Each one of us has been through something or have lost somebody in some sort of way. And we need to stop thinking of each other in a different way. That person next to me is not my enemy. That person next to me is my friend. That could be my brother. That could be my sister. Why is every time we think about somebody is in a negative way? Oh, I got to get him back. Revenge is not the key to nothing. Revenge is not anything. So
I hear that. One wise man said to me one time, Alana, you will never get ahead if you keep trying to get even. So I echo that for you. Revenge is not the way. Stop butting heads one with the other. We've got Kyrie out there just perusing the city like he is a prince of the city. Kyrie, what do we need to do in the city of Philadelphia to start bringing peace back to our streets?
I just think we need to just stop all the killing all around the city because it's really getting bad out here. It's like to the point where most kids can't even stay in the house or stay outside because they're afraid of getting shot.
Man, that's incredible. I mean, to be a kid and to be afraid of getting shot. Simply put, Kyrie says we need to stop the killing. We need to end the killing. Jalen, what can be done? What solutions do you see on the horizon to get us back to a place where we can be a more civil society and decrease the violence?
Better school systems. If you are uneducated, right? If you have no educational level and you have no money and you grew up in poverty, you're more likely to commit crimes and start killing other people than every other race. Notice how since Black people got in America, we didn't have jobs, we didn't have money, and they put guns and drugs in our neighborhood so we can commit more crimes. Even when we tried to get, I forgot that event, but even when we tried to get back on track, we were still put in this like box, and they stuffed us with guns, drugs, and now it's basically become our culture in these Black neighborhoods. What I'm trying to say is, right, if you were to donate to schools, and if we were to bring our education levels up, we'd stop the killing. People who have high intelligence, they'll go around killing people. Oh, sorry, that's a car going around.
That's okay.
People who have high intelligence, they'll go around killing people. Only people who don't have intelligence or don't have an education go around killing people. People who have money don't spend their time coming to get revenge on other people. People who don't have money try to do that. That's what I'm saying. If we were to increase our education, make us smarter, it all stop. That's the root of it.
Jalen takes the course that so many people are saying now, that if we improve and invest in our school systems, that we will give our young people an awareness and some options that will lead them away from the violence. Miss Jenny, as a teacher, and you made mention of this before, that you live in Marion, you cross City Avenue, it's a completely different world. And let me ask you, as a woman who comes with, and I say this not as a pejorative or an accusation, but, there's a level of privilege that comes with being white in America. You live in Marion, and then you come right across just a couple of miles down Bryn Mawr Avenue or somewhere like that, and you're in a completely different world. How do you retain your sense of hopefulness and optimism for the students that you live with on a daily basis?
I mean, just listen to them. Like,
that's true.
Incredible. They are they are our future. If we have a future, it's through them. So I kind of piggyback on what Jalen's saying. Like, I think we should be investing in people's future. We should be investing in their education. We should be, you know, trying to take the guns out of the neighborhoods and the ammunition out of the neighborhoods. But I mean, what, I don't know, like we're all in it together. And I think, to me, it bothers me that certain neighborhoods are so completely different, and that, you know, even you drive down City Avenue in the winter, one side of it is plowed and the other side isn't plowed. Like, that is just not right. So to me, I look at the struggles of the inner city and I see neighborhoods that need services that they're not getting, and other neighborhoods that get the services that they don't necessarily need. So I feel like the way we fund education is backwards, through real estate taxes. I feel like it's just a system that is inherently designed to oppress certain people, you know, and that's wrong.
When I was younger, as a young black man in the city of Philadelphia, you felt inherently unsafe. And one of the ways that young men try to increase their safety, which actually worked in the very opposite direction, that they would join street gangs, Jalen, and I think we lost Kyrie, but they would join street gangs, Jalen and Alana. I've been hearing that gangs are coming back, but not necessarily the way they used to be. Jalen and Alana, are there gangs in our neighborhoods these days? I mean, are there actually collections of young men and young women who are in organizations where they might be willing to be violent towards each other? Jalen?
I believe so. Yeah, I hear about it all the time.
Really? Are they street gangs, or are they just kind of like a set where people kind of get to know each other and just hang out? I mean, are they turf gangs? I mean, what brings them together? What is their purpose? What do they say their purpose is for being together?
I don't really think they have a purpose. They're just people who are there.
Yeah.
They're there because they grew up in the same conditions.
Yeah. Alana, one of the things that we hear a lot about when it comes to what builds the beefs that people have with each other, how come people are coming at each other so hard these days, is that social media feeds a lot of what's going on. Somebody might say something about someone, and the next thing you know, what was happening online spills over into the street. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, for a long time, I was on Instagram. A lot of, like, when I say Instagram or any social media platform, comes with a lot of drama. And no matter what you do, social media is full of drama. There's always people talking about people, and people, it's just an app where you put your opinions out. And of course, people is going to disagree and have a debate about it. It's the fact that people are not, like Jalen said, well educated enough to not take it so offensively. A debate is not something in a negative way. Everybody is not supposed to agree with you. You're not supposed to be on the same page all the time. But it doesn't have to turn into something physical outside of that debate.
Have either of you seen that happen with any of your friends, where somebody says something online, and the next thing you know, people are meeting up somewhere to take the online stuff offline and putting it on the street? Have either of you seen that?
I don't really call those people my friends, because I don't like to associate with people who get offensive so easily, because I do like debating with other people. I don't associate people who get angry so easily over some stupid debate. But I have seen it before. They talk all this smack online, they go up in person, and they fight, right? And they get expelled from school. I've seen it too many times.
Oh. Alana, how about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. And it's just like, it's not worth it. If you already have your life set up, like Jaden said, I don't put myself in a circle with people that I know are not in the same mindset as me, who don't want a better future. You getting into something and turning it into something bigger outside of that platform, you throwing your whole life away, basically. Getting yourself expelled from school, that's going to be on your record. And it's like, you know what?
And I have to tell you that I really have deep admiration for Kyrie. Kyrie has taken the L, a bus, and walked, and now he is at home in his home office, and he is ready to get it said in a setting that will allow him to speak quietly and peacefully. Kyrie, we had asked the question as to whether or not there are gangs forming in the city of Philadelphia again. Are you aware of actual gangs in the city these days?
I'm aware of some gangs, like some gangs that make it public. I don't know about the gangs that's like private.
I mean, when you say gangs that make it public, you mean these are people who openly talk about being, for example, when I was younger, I grew up in a neighborhood, and the gang that I wasn't from the gang because I was too busy at the library reading good books and, learning how to make brie. But the gang that supposedly I was a part of was 21st and Norris Street. And I mean, are these and I wasn't. I just want to let the record show I wasn't. But I really wasn't. But Kyrie, are there people out there saying that I am a part of this gang? I mean, you heard that?
It's on social media, all types of social media. People say that they with gangs. Some people born into gangs, depending on where you live at, what street you on. It's a mess.
Now, in the days when I was coming along, these gangs, they would meet, they'd hang out on corners. They become known for the corner where they hang out, and at times they would have beef with other gangs or another set around the way, across the way, and they would get into it, and there would be an ongoing battle back and forth, especially at school, where sometimes two gangs would come together at the same school. Do these things happen today? I mean, are there gangs? Do you know of gangs who have tension with other gangs that lead to fighting or even worse?
Not that I know of. I haven't seen it or heard of it.
Okay. Jalen or Alana? Well, Jalen already said, look, them ain't my people. He said, Jalen said, we go high and by on them. That's not my people. So, Alana, are you familiar with that? And how about girls, Alana? I mean, it used to be that girls would, chew gum, jump ropes, and look pretty. But are girls getting into this violent issue now?
It's definitely not how it used to be when you would see like people gangs on the street. Like nobody really outside no more, and a lot of that is police brutality that been going on. So I feel like generally you're not gonna see a gang out on the street. It's most likely you're gonna be in a house. You're gonna see a bunch of people just gathered in one house.
Okay. The other big thing that we talk about is drugs, and we'll go to you, Miss Jenny. I don't know if young people, at one point, young people were starting to become involved with drugs quite a bit, but it appears that drugs are not what they once were. In school, do you find yourself dealing with a lot of young people who get caught with contraband? So it's not as much there.
I mean, just the free area kids are not those kids. And for
Okay.
reason, like they are not drawn to our school. So I think a lot of us are happily oblivious about a lot of the super negative activities going on in Philadelphia. So I think that's, why we don't have a lot of answers about things like that. Just, we don't know. But I mean, I grew up in the 80s. There was a lot going on that I don't see among these young people. They're very focused. They're very dedicated to their future. And Antonio was one of those people, he was on the right path. He never strayed, so that's, I think, another reason why his passing is so disappointing and tragic is he never, choices, all.
I'll tell you what, we'll take another quick break, and when we come back, Jalen and Alana and Kyrie, I want you to tell me the best way that we can honor the life of Antonio and the best way that we can establish or help to establish the legacy of a young man that all of us are saying he did not stray, he didn't contribute to the negativity that ultimately took his life. But how can we how can we create a legacy of his that will help to lift up and establish the positive things, and how can we remember him? We're speaking with Jalen Berkeley, Alana Walker Kegler, and with Kyrie Hampton in the presence of Miss Jenny of the Freire School. We'll come back and continue to talk about Antonio Walker, a young man who had a brilliant future until a bullet from a moving car ended that future, but his legacy still stays with us. We'll continue to talk about that legacy upon our return from this break. You're listening to 900 AM, 96.1 FM. This is WURD. Stay with us.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Watch for a crash on the 42 freeway southbound side between College Drive and the AC Expressway. It's an overturned vehicle in this crash, and the right lane's blocked. Delays go back to Lower Landing Road. Fire and EMS are on the scene. Meantime, a gaper delay is built up on the northbound side. Ben Franklin Bridge westbound, watch for an accident right around the downside. It's off to the side of the road. Vine Expressway eastbound heavy the entire stretch, 76 to 95. On the Schuylkill westbound, we've got the sinkhole repair work going on at 202. Just the right shoulder gets by there. Volume on the Blue Route 476 southbound between Broomall and Media Swarthmore. 95 northbound heavy Betsy Ross Bridge to Bridge Street. Report brought to you by Staples Stores. Staples helps you get back to business with custom printed signs and sales materials. Now get 15% off signs, posters, or decals when you spend $75 or more. Offer ends 5/29/21. Exclusions apply. Limit 1 per customer. See store or staples.com/signage for details. For more traffic info, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Jason Lee with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD Radio weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Brittany Ship.
Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 41. Then on Friday, it'll be a chilly start to the morning. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s, which will give way to a windy and chilly day. We'll see clouds increasing towards the afternoon, a high of 57. Saturday, partly sunny and totally dry, a high of 61. Sunday, clouds return once again with a chance of showers, a high of 62. By Monday, mostly cloudy and a chance of showers still lingering in the forecast. At least temperatures are back to our seasonal average of 64. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Brittany Ship with your most accurate forecast.
AARP is working to protect Americans 50 plus by making sure you have the latest information about the COVID-19 vaccines and the distribution plans in Pennsylvania. Just visit aarp.org/PA vaccine to learn who's eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine, when, where, and how to get it in Philadelphia and the rest of the Commonwealth, and what you might want to discuss with your doctor. That's aarp.org/PA vaccine.
In these days of isolation, being home with a medically fragile child is especially challenging. Mars Care has been helping families deal with this challenge since 1984. Mars Care understands the special healthcare needs these young patients require and is ready to provide skilled nursing, rehabilitative therapies, and home health aid services. Mars Care is here to help their families get through this difficult time. For more information, go to marscare.com. That's marscare.com.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
Tune in this Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. for the Islam Today show with a perspective on moral guidance and Islamic principles and values.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Back with you, ladies and gentlemen, the final few moments with our guest from Freire School. And I want to let you know how deeply impressed I am with these young people and, of course, with their teacher, Jalen Berkeley, Alana Walker Kegler. Kyrie Hampton, and we have been joined by Chanel Williams. But before we hear from Chanel, my understanding is that the Freire School is going to have a forum, and it's going to be addressing these issues. Miss Jenny, tell us a little bit more about this forum and give us all the invitation.
Okay. Well, there's a town hall, and it's going to be next Wednesday. I think it is the 21st of April from 4 to 6. You can go to the bit.ly/Freire Town Hall, or it'll also be posted. The link will be on the Freire website. But
okay.
Public, and we hope everyone comes. There's going to be several, really powerful speakers, and the community's been kind of gathering questions, and so it'll just be kind of more, what can we do? We want to do something. We want to have hope. We want to not be kind of just flattened by this experience, but use it as a springboard to make positive change.
So now, once again, for those who are just listening, this is a town hall meeting. It's a virtual town hall meeting. Can you give us once again the information that will allow us to tap in to become a part of this town hall meeting?
It's you go to bit.ly/Freire Town Hall.
Bentley/Freire. Spell, for those who have not been accustomed to spelling the word Freire, spell that for us so that we can.
Absolutely. Freire. Freire.
Freire. See, I would have spelled it Freeieo. I would have messed it all up in all sorts of different ways. So I'm glad that you straightened that one out for us. We are joined on the line by another of the classmates. I do believe, am I correct in that? Not a classmate.
That's my mom.
That's your mother? Well, Ms. Williams, I want you to know that you have raised a prince of a young man, because Jalen has represented not only himself well, not only his classmates well, but obviously he is representing those who helped to bring him up well. So, and look, Jalen, if whatever she gives you, I want half of it, because, I got your back on this one. Now, we're not simply willing to allow Antonio to become a statistic. He is not just going to be a cold number on a page. This 15-year-old young man who was your friend, your teammate Alana and Kyrie, your student Miss Jenny, your godbrother Jalen, the way you keep someone with us is you say his name and you recount those things that made him most alive, and you live in accordance with the values and the principles that he stood for. And in that way, not only is their life not in vain, but their legacy still lives on beyond them. So what do we do? Alana, you were one of his best friends. What do we do to keep the legacy of Antonio Walker alive? How do we keep his life and the things that he stood for ever fresh and ever green in a society that really needs more Antonio Walkers?
I feel like just uplifting everybody around us and just keeping Freire does a great job doing that, our community. So just like uplifting everybody and just making sure that everybody here for each other, because that's what Antonio used to do. He was here for everybody. So
wow. Look, I want you guys to know how when I'm not doing this job, I pastor a church at 46 in Haverford, the West Philadelphia Seventh-day Adventist Church. I have a lot of young people your age at my church, and and when I think of a young man 15 years of age, if I had lost him, I would be beside myself with grief. And I'm so grateful that the three of you are here to remind me to not get lost in grief, because there's still so much left to live for and to support. And I want to thank you for that. But Kyrie, as another track star, your ankle's healed now, right? And so you're able now to become the Olympic athlete that you were meant to be. Am I correct in that?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's healed.
Okay, all right. So now, beside being the best track star that you can be, what else can we do to keep alive the memory and the legacy of your former teammate Antonio Walker? What can we do to live in such a way that his memory stays with us?
We can just do our best in school, because that's what he always tried to do, and just try to stay positive throughout everything.
Try to stay positive and do your best in school to to be the kind of student that Antonio would have been proud of. And let me tell you, look, man, we got some good. I want everybody out there now who talks about, man, these young people are no good. These young people I want you to realize what you've heard here today on this station and these three young people. Jalen, and ladies and gentlemen, we conclude, of course, with Martin Luther. Jalen, I have a dream. Say it for us, Jalen. But Jalen, what can we do to maintain and uphold the legacy of Antonio Walker so that this young man, even though we lost him at 15, that his memory stays with us?
Push forward, I guess. If I was Antonio, I wouldn't want you all to keep. I would want all you to keep being sad about my death. I want you to be happy and keep moving forward. I want you to move on with your lives. Oh, that's if I was Antonio, but just move forward. Try your best and I guess succeed.
The thing, and I have to admit, when we were putting this program together, Miss Jenny, I wasn't sure how young people would come across. I wasn't sure if you guys would be angry, bitter. I wasn't sure if you would be so morose that you were saying, oh, what difference does it make? We're not going to live anyway. But to have optimistic, intelligent, still committed, willing to keep pushing forward, as Jalen just said, I mean, I can't tell you how good that it's done my heart. This has just been an extraordinary conversation with some extraordinary young people. Miss Jenny, the final words come from you. I first want to tip my hat to you for the great job you did capturing the life and the essence, not only of Antonio, but of the students who are a part of the Free Area School who loved him, cared about him, and remember him fondly and warmly. But for the work that you're doing to bring to us a group of young people like the ones we've had today, beside the fact that they're such stunning and sterling examples of bright, intelligent youth, what else does it that keeps you going, that keeps you motivated during a pandemic when you don't have the materials you need and things just aren't going the way you planned for them to go?
I mean, I think about Antonio and I think about what he did with his short life. He never gave up pushing himself to be better. And I see that. I see his beauty. I see all of their beauty. And that's, I think, what Free Area teachers try to bring that. We see them, we hear them, we recognize their talents, and we try to foster them to be stronger. I think about Antonio like every morning. Literally, I wake up and I'm like, we're gonna do this. And he overcame reading weaknesses, and he was a role model, and he was so jolly and just always laughing, and just a humble person, and he really walked that path and lived life to the fullest, and I just hope I can do the same thing.
Well, she is Miss Jennifer Hopkins Dougherty, better known as Miss Jenny, one of the teachers. She helped at a time when Antonio needed it most. She was there to help him with his learning skills. We heard from Jalen Berkeley, who will be owning the Apple Computer Corporation in about another 10 years or so. I want you to remember, brother, man, to, break me off a little something, Jalen, when you get to where you're going, because I know you're going to get there. Alana Walker Kegler is going to be an astronomer and discover a new planet after she runs the fastest time in 100 meters ever to be run by any woman on the face of the planet. And, of course, she's just cool like that anyway, rocking the braids and the beret. And last but not least is the gentleman who walked all around this city, taking the L and the bus, and then finally getting home and just chilling to have the conversation without even breaking a sweat, Mr. Kyrie Hampton, who is also on the track team. All three of these students joined us to be a part of this conversation in remembering Antonio Walker. We started off by talking about March the 9th, 7 o'clock, when bullets cut down the physical life of this young man. But his legacy lives on. Bullets can't stop an idea, and bullets cannot stop a spirit. And the spirit and the resolution of this young man lives on in his friends, his family. To his mother, Nadisha, we thank you so much for sharing a little of your son's life with us. And although we have lost him, I want all three of you to know that you are most fortunate that for 15 years they had the opportunity to have him. I want to thank you all for joining us here on WURD, and I'm hoping that at some point there's something that we can do to help you on your way as you go on to become the kings and the queens that you are meant to be. And Miss Jenny, thank you so much for investing yourself in the children of Philadelphia as you go day in and day out, doing your best to instruct them. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was such an honor to be on your amazing show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, hey, I got to ask you, Jalen, now, you know, I listened to you speak, and is there a masjid or a church in your background somewhere?
I think.
I mean, because you sound like someone who's been speaking for a long time. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just checking.
You're just a natural born speaker, aren't you, though?
Yeah. Look, you know, you got Malcolm X and Martin Luther King all rolled into one right there. All right, folks, I will see you all real soon in the very near future. I'm going to try to be a part of your town hall meeting. My best to all of the staff and the other students of your school. Kyrie, stay cool, man, and keep dealing with the do, man. That hair is, it's all set there. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and we'll say farewell while we're taking a break. And when we come back, we will be speaking with Sylvia Rue, Dr. Sylvia Rue, who is an expert. She has her PhD in human sexuality. I don't know if you young people are able to hear this, but we'll be talking about the fluidity of human sexuality and the story that came about when Colton Underwood had an announcement to make just yesterday. This is 900 AM, 96.1 FM. I'm Nick Taliaferro, and you know who you are. We'll be back right after this.
We are people of resilience, so let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
A Part of Me boutique, located 3834 Lancaster Avenue, sells men's and women's clothing, shoes, and beautiful accessories. Items can be ordered if not in the store. Check out our lovely one-of-a-kind chairs with reupholstered African fabric. A Part of Me is open Wednesday through Saturday from 11:30 to 6 p.m. You can expect friendly, professional service and unique finds. A Part of Me boutique, located 3834 Lancaster Avenue, sells men's and women's clothing, shoes, and beautiful accessories. Items can be ordered if not in the store. Check out our lovely one-of-a-kind chairs with reupholstered African fabric. A Part of Me is open Wednesday through Saturday from 11:30 to 6 p.m. You can expect friendly, professional service and unique finds.
Listen up, WURD family. Brown's family-owned Fresh Grocer of Monument is hosting a hiring event this Saturday, April 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Located at 4160 Monument Road, on-the-spot interviews will be held. Fresh Grocer of Monument will be providing snacks and various giveaways. Again, Brown's family-owned Fresh Grocer of Monument, Saturday, April 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. With flexible hours and competitive weekly pay, you can come and get a job today.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at WURD. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
All right, folks, final hour of Evening Words here coming up at 7 o'clock. As always, you check in with Sincerely Sarita. She simply asks that you save space for her, and boy, oh boy, does she make good use of that space. Always good information, always good conversation, always a nuanced spiritual view of the issues of the day. Sincerely Sarita comes your way from 7 o'clock until 9, Monday through Thursdays. Save space for her, folks. I promise you it will be space saved to your benefit. We look forward to having her come along right after this. All right, and let me just chastise a little bit here. Let me just let me take some of you to the woodshed. Let this be the last time that we have young people on from our city, young people who are doing well and speaking intelligently and carrying themselves in a way that is laudable and praiseworthy. Let this be the last time that they come on and you folks don't call in to support and congratulate them. No, just look, you know me. This is your friend Nick here. I'm real easygoing. But when young people come on and they're trying to do what's right, especially when they've gone through what these young people went through, somebody ought to be calling in saying, "Hey, look, I want to let you know that we sympathize with you for your loss, and we're so proud that you were able to pick yourselves up and to keep going." I mean, you got 15-year-old kids who lost someone that meant a lot, and for adults to be listening and to not lend their voice to support them, your silence makes a statement. So I say to you again, let this be the last time. I'm laughing, but I ain't joking. Let it be the last time that happens, that we don't support young people when we have an opportunity to let them hear of our support. Okay? All right? Not trying to be bad or mad, but let it be the last time. All right, good people and bad people just as well. 6 o'clock hour brings us to grown folks conversation. Last night, we talked about it ever so briefly, and I realized that we gave it short shrift because this is a topic that really needs some honest conversation. Yesterday, the news broke that a young man by the name of Colton Underwood made an announcement on the program Good Morning America while being interviewed by Robin Roberts, who is considered to be one of the best at the business in the morning. Now, before we go any further, Colton Underwood is 6'3", 255 pounds of solid man. He was a football player in college and went on to play for 3 NFL teams, including the Philadelphia Eagles. That's Colton Underwood. After he left being injured from the sport of football, he found himself competing with other men for the affections of a young lady on one of those ubiquitous television shows that I despise called The Bachelor, where he chased some woman around trying to get her attention. Then later on, he came back in around the year 2018-19, he came back to become The Bachelor, where a bunch of women went chasing him around, where you play tonsil hockey with these women and then supposedly you choose one. Well, all of that being said and all of that being gone, yesterday, Colton Underwood announced on national television that he is gay. This goes against the grain of what most people stereotypical like to think of when they think of a gay man, an NFL football player, a man who is the center of women's attention. And I began to realize that Colton struggled to identify himself, and to own that identity in a public way is something that gets replicated every day in our churches, in our schools, and in our families. And I recognize that I didn't understand enough about it, and probably neither do you, but I know someone who does. She holds a PhD in human sexuality from the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality from San Francisco, the first African American to earn such a degree. And we are pleased to make welcome once again Dr. Sylvia Rue of the sunny state of California. Dr. Rue, it's good to have you, and welcome back to WURD.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you again, Nick.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I am so glad that you made yourself available for this one because, you know, one of the things that people think they know is what it takes, quote, to be a man, what it takes, quote, to be a woman. and the difference between the two, and then they think they understand what they're talking about when they say the quote gay lifestyle or quote the gay presentation. And we're realizing something, that there's a lot more fluidity and ambiguity and a lot less understanding than we think. Help me understand something. How far along are we when it comes to really understanding what it means to be male and what it means to be, quote, straight?
Well, we've come pretty far since when I was first studying human sexuality in the 70s. But if you look at people's responses on the internet to basic ideas about human sexuality, then you say, well, a lot of people haven't come far at all. And it just, people need to educate themselves and to learn things. I mean, there's plenty of people and books out there to study, to learn about sexuality. Can I read to you from a book called Biblical Ethics and Homosexuality?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me sit back in my seat on that. Biblical ethics and homosexuality. When a scholar says, may I read to you, that means you're about to be educated in a serious way. Please read on, Dr. Rue.
It's by David Halperin, and the book is Biblical Ethics and Homosexuality. And what he said is sexuality, and maybe this could be a jump off for us, sexuality is thus the inmost part of an individual's human nature. It is the feature of a person that takes the longest to get to know well, and knowing it renders transparent and intelligible to the knower, the person to whom it belongs. Sexuality holds the key to unlocking the deepest mysteries of the human personality. Let me say that again. Sexuality holds the key to unlocking the deepest mysteries of the human personality. It lies at the center of the hermeneutics of the self.
So you're right. It is a good jump off point, because one of the issues that came up with this Colton Underwood announcement was, wait a minute, didn't he know this already? And people were saying it's not possible to live through your teenage years, through your adolescent years, into your early adulthood, and not know exactly who you are by sexual orientation. But your statement that you just shared with us suggests that it takes a while to really know who we are. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, it can. He said it takes the longest to know.
Wow.
I went to a conference once. Actually, it was a Black religious conference. And there was a woman there who was in her 20s, maybe 30s, and is respected. And I asked her what was her sexual orientation, and she said, I don't know. And I'm still shocked that she said that, but that's what she said.
How old was she again?
She was probably in her early 30s.
She said, I don't know.
I don't know.
Is there a classic consideration as to when people become cognizant or aware of their sexual orientation? I mean, can we say that by the age of 6 or 7, people know that, hey, I am attracted to members of this gender? Or
some people know at 6 and 7, just as heterosexual kids may know at 6 or 7 who they like to be around and who might give them interest. But usually we don't always have a name for it at that young age.
Well, this young man, Colton Underwood, he announced that he is gay, but he announced that he is gay after he had been in a long-running relationship. Initially, he was in a long-running relationship with Allie Reisman, who was an Olympic gymnast, and then he was in a relationship with one of the women that he met on the show, even becoming engaged at one point. Is it possible that he didn't know what he was or who he was as a matter of sexual orientation, even though he was a grown man?
Sure, it was possible. But I think his religious ideas and feelings and beliefs stunted his sexual growth to come to an understanding of who he really is.
As a pastor, I have encountered women who have been married and believing themselves to be heterosexual. They got married, and then typically in their 30s, some of them said, you know what, I don't want to be with a man anymore. And they found themselves drawn to women. And then in their latter 40s, they switched back.
Yes, because sexuality is fluid, especially in women.
I was just getting ready to say, but I don't see that happening that often in men. Why is that?
Well, because, because I have the answer, but I have to get it.
Take your time.
Women, if you do studies of women and who they love their best friend as much as they love their husband. Usually. Okay. You know, it's not sexual with their best friend, but the feelings of love are not heterosexual or homosexual. It's just human. So if some women fall in love with their friends, their girlfriends, and they go ahead and take the next step to be sexual with that person, or someone at work catches their eye. I mean, there's something called lit erotica that talks. Lit erotica talks about lesbian relationships, and half of them are straight women who notice a woman, and then they get involved with them sexually.
We're talking with Dr. Sylvia Rue about human sexuality in the wake of the announcement of Colton Underwood, former NFL player, former bachelor on TV, who announced yesterday that he was gay. I realize that there are lots of people in our churches, in our homes, in our schools who are wrestling with issues like this. And Dr. Sylvia Rue is, she holds a PhD in human sexuality. Who else do you go to? If you want to get your car fixed, you go to a master mechanic. Well, we're going to the master mechanic today. Help me understand the difference between gender and sexuality, because most people think that those two things are fixed coordinates in the constellation of the human psyche, that if you're a male, then you're supposed to be attracted to a woman. Is our sexuality typically fixed to gender? I don't even know if I'm asking the question right, but let's go back to the first one. The difference between gender and sexuality.
Sexuality is part of our expression of how we are human in the world as humans. Sexuality expresses itself in 8 billion ways, since there's 8 billion people. Gender is what you accept as your inner and outer physical presentation of self. For heterosexuals, transgender people have a different idea of what their gender is, because we talked about this with Kyla last time.
Yeah.
The gender they've been assigned, your male or your boy or girl, it does not sync with what they feel inside. And so when they get older, they might want to change their physical presentation to match up with what they feel inside as what gender they are. Now, heterosexuals and homosexuals are not transgender people. And it's like a friend of mine said, you can have some attraction for a gay person, you can have some attraction to the opposite sex, but it's like shopping in a window. There's a store that has clothes in the window, and you say, oh, that looks nice, but it won't fit me.
Right.
It just won't fit.
I'll open the phone lines now. 215-634-8065 is the number. This is a grown-up conversation. 215-634-8065 is our number. We're speaking with Dr. Sylvia Rue about human sexuality, particularly in the light of the announcement made by, let me tell you, Colton Underwood played for the Raiders. If there is a macho football team, it's them, their Raiders. He played for the Raiders. And so this goes all through our construct of what we think about homosexuality, heterosexuality, and gender appearance when we think of this young man saying yesterday on a television show, "I am gay." Many people are wrestling with that, and there are many people who are wrestling with their own identity. So we're having this conversation today. As a person who grew up in a household with a very strong religious background, you may mention earlier, Dr. Rue, that there are people who have a difficulty sussing out their own orientation because their religious background kind of prevents them from honestly pursuing it. Is it the same today, or have things changed to the point where people are finding it easier to make that journey into exploration?
Well, it's the same for a lot of people, but depending on where they're living and what they're exposed to. But it's easier in terms, there's just so much more support systems out there. When I came along, there weren't a lot of books out there. It was Lesbian Women and a few other books, but the book Lesbian Women helped me come out of the closet. But now you can go to, there's whole libraries about lesbian and gay people, about human sexuality. We didn't have the organizations that people can turn to. Now we didn't have, when I came along earlier, we didn't have like GLAAD, Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, or the Human Rights Campaign, or the Task Force, or, just there's so many, or the one that helps young kids, blanking on the name, but there's just so many things out there. And we didn't have the internet either. What happened in the 60s and the early 70s, that Los Angeles, where I was from, had the first Gay and Lesbian Community Services Center. So people from the Midwest and from all the parts of America would come to Los Angeles for Hollywood and to see, what Los Angeles had to offer. And then they would hear there was a center for gay and lesbian people. They would go back home to the Midwest and they say, "Can you believe there's a center for gay and lesbian people?" And their kids would hear that, pack up their bag, come to LA, and stand in front of the center and say, "Here I am." There wasn't even anything in San Francisco they could go to at that time.
I was wondering about that. You always think that San Francisco would be the first to do something.
No.
Let's go to the phone lines, 215-634-8065. Jim in Germantown, thank you for your call, and welcome to this grown-up conversation.
Yeah, good evening, Nick, and good evening to your guest.
Good evening.
Doctor, good evening. Doctor, I've been reading over the past couple of years about research that's been conducted at UCLA and at the University of Chicago, I believe, and definitely at Harvard, on the relationship of the chemicals that are being put into our foods and how that may cause homosexuality or gender dysphoria or whatever it's called. And also some doctors who've long contended that various traumas that mothers may have encountered during pregnancy may be the cause of this. Now, I know this is very unpopular to those who feel that this type of research is trying to say that gay people are sick. But personally, I don't think that is an honest way of looking at it, because if indeed these things are a part of why we have sexuality that is different from the mainstay sexuality, I think it needs to be honestly looked at.
What was the last? I think it needs to be what? I didn't hear.
Honestly looked at.
Oh, honestly looked. Oh, everything about sexuality is being honestly looked at. But as Jimmy Carter, President Carter mentioned, homosexuality has been part of the human experience since the beginning of time. It was around when Jesus was around. It was around before that. And we didn't have, he's coming from a position, and I understand where you're coming from, sir, but you're coming from a position of it being negative and pathological when it's not. Can I read you something else again?
Please.
In my training as a sexologist, I learned that sexuality is wired into the brain. And as humans, we come into an awareness of our orientation as we grow into young adulthood. Sexual orientation is unchosen, unbidden, and I will add, not the result of what's in the water. The overriding reality is that human beings do not choose their sexual orientation. A person's sexual orientation has already been determined by the time you can name it and claim it. The state of being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender is the normal, unbidden, morally neutral variation of human development. This simply means that someone who is gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender has the capacity, if they are so blessed, to be in companionship in deep and profound ways with another person. Also, if sexual orientation were something we could choose as easily as what we are going to wear or eat, it still would not be a moral or social problem. There is simply nothing wrong with being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. Sexuality and sexual orientation are gifts from a creator and are some of the means by which humans express the mysteries of their sacred erotic core and communicate their innermost longings in an utterly human way. For many of us, these gifts lead to a fuller experience of our humanity.
I want to thank you for that call, Jim. And we'll take a break. And when we come back, I want to ask a couple of questions. Boy, do I have questions. One is the question of where most people think when they think of a homosexual male, they think of a man that they perceive wants to be a woman. But when you look at a guy like Colton Underwood playing for the LA and then the Las Vegas Raiders, there was nothing about him that looked like he wanted to be a woman. You know, you normally think of a person that acts in a way that is closer to being feminine. And so homosexuality doesn't necessarily mean that gender affect is altered. That's just one of the questions I have. And when I come back, I'm going to throw it all over on the California side of things into the hands of our guest, the very capable Dr. Sylvia Rue. Dr. Rue was the first African-American to receive a doctorate in human sexuality from the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality. And she is a filmmaker along with a writer and an activist and a producer. And she produced the acclaimed documentary, All God's Children. We'll come back and talk more with her and with you right after this break. Stay with us.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
I'm Henry Louis Gates Jr. We are people of resilience. No matter what happens, we fight through the pain. We protect our traditions. We uphold our excellence. So let's protect our lives with vaccines we can trust. We can do this.
To learn more about COVID-19 vaccines, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter.
Hello, this is Council Member Alan Dom. I'm calling with important information about COVID-19 vaccines. In the coming weeks, all Philadelphians over the age of 16 will be eligible for vaccination. However, you must be registered with the city to get vaccinated. Register today at www.phila.gov and fill out the vaccine interest form or email COVID at phila.gov. If you can't complete the online form, call 311 to get registered. Your information is confidential. Get registered today. Thank you.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we are back with you, ladies and gentlemen. The time is now 25 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. Coming along at 7 o'clock, Save Space. Sincerely, Sarita comes your way. In this final portion of our program, we have as our guest esteemed human sexual expert, Dr. Sylvia Rue, Ph.D. She earned her Ph.D. in human sexuality from the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality in San Francisco, the first African-American to earn that degree from that location. She's a writer, an activist, a filmmaker, and a producer. And we're talking today about human sexuality in the wake of the Colton Underwood announcement, the young man who was one of the contestants on The Bachelor and then The Bachelor himself. He also was an NFL football player, and we're just asking some questions about human sexuality. The phone lines are lit, but there was a question I asked on the way out to the break. And I think our guest was just a little bit surprised. It'll be the last question I get to ask because all of you are calling in, and that's a great thing. But Dr. Rue, welcome back to you. But many people perceive that when a man is gay, that he is repudiating his masculinity in favor of femininity, and so you can see it when people are being pejorative and trying to insult individuals about being gay. What they do is they affect a woman in the body of a man because it is perceived by straight people that a gay man wants to be a woman, wants to be feminized. But when you see something like this, you say, well, maybe not so. Are people reading that wrong?
Gay men don't want to be women. They want to be men because they are men. It's like my gay brother said, I'm a man among men. But I want to introduce my cousin, Keith Patterson, who's a gay man, and he could give you some insight into being a gay male.
Yeah, I was actually in my bedroom listening to the broadcast. And so it's an honor to answer this question. No, I think there are very different types of gay men. There's many types of gay men that are gay men. And some men present effeminate, and lots of gay men do not. There are a lot of men that you could go by them in the street and you would have no idea that they are gay. There are gay men that present as gangster or thug. There are lots of different types of presentations. So being effeminate is just one of the presentations. And why that is, I don't know. You know, it could be because a lot of us emotionally connect with our femininity.
Okay.
Because we are gay, which goes from, mannerisms to creativity to whatever we're into. We have the freedom to connect with our feminine side, and we're not afraid of it. But to just pigeonhole and say that all gay men want to present as feminine, it's not true.
But I'm sorry. Let me get your name again, sir. I'm so sorry.
I'm Keith Patterson.
Keith Patterson.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Rue's cousin and roommate.
Okay. Keith, here's a question, and that is, as a gay man, if a gay man is attracted to other men, does he look for men who present as being, and this is probably going down the path that you just backed me out of. Is he attracted to men who present as hypermasculine, or is he attracted to simply the personality? And if so, could he not be attracted to a woman in the same way? And I know that question is like an amoeba; it runs all over the place. But do you get where I'm going with it?
Well, I am an amoeba. I was married for 12 years. I'm attracted to a woman, and I'm attracted to men mostly for their personality and who they are as a person, and they trigger that. Either if they're masculine, I can be attracted to them and be passive with them. But there are also men that I'm attracted to because they present themselves as feminine, and I then become the aggressive one and they're passive to me. And the only reason I bring that up is that that's the variety. That's why it's a danger to try to make one category that fits us all. Right there, I gave you 3 examples of who I am.
Well, and listen, I mean, I am stretching the borders of my intellect now to make room for new understanding, and that's why we're here. We're going to get back to the phone lines. We're having a very grown-up conversation in the wake of the Colton Underwood announcement yesterday. Colton Underwood was a linebacker, a tight end, and a defensive end playing professional football, who was not only dating several women, engaged to one, and chasing them around on The Bachelor, as well as playing professional football. And yesterday he announced that he was gay. And people were saying, now, what does that say to us? I mean, how does that help us understand the fluidity of human sexuality? We get back to our phone lines now. Let's go to Bobby in Southwest Philadelphia. Bobby, thank you for the call and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I want to first go offline on my conversation. I want to say that to the young people that was your guest that I am so proud of them. I want to do that. But I do want to talk
Thank you,
about
Bobby.
Yeah, I want to talk about the subject. I come from a family of multiple. I mean, we got tons of sexually preference. We don't call them gay. You get gay, you call gay in the family, you get slapped in the mouth. But they're sexually preferred.
Okay.
I have an absolutely wonderful nephew. We knew he was gay from childhood. But this is the thing where people need to stop hating on people who have alternate sexual preference. Is that that's another form of social hatred. Okay, that's number one. What happened, I'll give you a story, is my nephew was like maybe 13, 14 years old and got caught kissing some little boy at school, right? School called and told my sister. When he came home, this is God's truth. When he came home, she hit him in the head with a skillet.
Wow.
And this is a sister that was, oh my God, God is this and God is that and God is that. Speaking on God, and I don't know, maybe the professor knows, that hatred or that ingrained teaching originated from the Catholic priest who was in love with another Catholic priest way back, like when Catholic churches originated. I'm not knocking anything, it's what I read.
Well,
what happened was this priest, when he was on his deathbed, right, he tried to will all the riches of the church back then to his lover. And so that became a taboo, and Catholic Church began to make, cry, it's a bad thing, you're a sin and sinner. So but I have tons of them.
Well, look, Bobby, you bring us to a very, very good question. I mean, for a mother to hit a child in the head with a frying pan, that brings me back to a question. What is it that makes it, for example, let's say if Keith did not like potato salad, and I thought potato salad was something that should be included with every meal, I don't think that I would want to beat Keith up about it. What is it that then makes a person so virulently angry with a person because their sexual preference or orientation or their gender presentation is not what I think it should be? Dr. Rue, where does that anger come from that would make a mother hit her son in the head with a frying pan?
It comes from many places. One is, and this is true, some people have those same feelings in themselves and want to beat it out of someone else.
Okay.
I have a friend that happened to. Also, religious prohibitions against homosexuality make people think they are doing God's will by hurting another person and causing them physical harm if they think they're gay. I mean, it comes from so many places because so many messages people get that are negative about lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. And they internalize some of that anger and spew it out.
Well, now, I get that, but the Bible also says that thou shalt not commit adultery. And as ministers, we know a bunch of ministers who are committing, it's like we used to say, I think he's practicing adultery. And they say, no, I don't think he's practicing anymore. I think he got it down to a fine art. And there are people who, we know that they're doing wrong. Yeah. And the same Bible that says you shouldn't do that, but we don't hate them and want to fight them. A lot of times we even sort of chuckle, under our breath. Yeah, well, you know what he's doing. But so why the rage? I mean, what is the rage all about?
Do you have any idea what it means? Who's raised cat? Who's an altar boy?
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm a recovering Catholic.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered, Keith, that rage when someone says, "Oh, you're a gay man, so therefore now I have to hate you and be enraged at you," whereas yesterday, when I didn't know, I thought you were an okay guy?
No, I've been lucky because actually my mother came out to me first, so that made things easier.
Hold on, let me pump the brake just a second here. Did you say who came out to who?
My mother came out to me first, so that made the path for me easier. And then I met a lot of very smart, intelligent, and spiritual people who were, very centered in who they were. And so I kind of fell in the lap of people that approved of me. So I've never been in a situation where I was castigated because I'm gay. Never.
12 years, a play on the terms, not like the movie was 12 years a slave, but you were 12 years in marriage to a woman. Were you married because it was the socially acceptable thing to do?
No.
Okay.
I was in love with her. Yeah.
Yeah, he's bisexual.
I'm bisexual.
Okay. Now, some of the friends that I have who are gay saying, "Oh, there's really no such thing as bisexual. Bisexual men."
Oh, that's wrong.
Okay, well, that's the end of that. See how quickly we can get to the answers here? Let's go to our next phone call. We're speaking with Dr. Sylvia Roux. She's in the company of her cousin Keith, and he has just added richly to this conversation. For those of you who are listening, this is a grown folks conversation. If you're not grown, then we would suggest that you go and peel potatoes or something like that until such time as we are done. Olaniyan in Nicetown, thank you for the call and welcome to the show.
Yes, I happened to come in the house and y'all talking about this subject, which is quite interesting. I wrote a book called The Book of Questions, and in that book, one of the questions is do you think that homosexuality will be something that can stop the planet from being overpopulated by humans? In other words, can it solve the population problem? That's the question for everybody, not me.
Oh, okay. So,
heterosexual or homosexual?
Will homosexuality stop overpopulation?
Won't stop overpopulation because heterosexuals are overpopulating. But it does help. It's just, someone said it's nature's way of keeping the population down because overpopulation is what's been detrimental to the future of humanity and the environment.
Well, because of what the two of you, Sylvia and Keith, that you're both sharing with me, I know that there's no hard and fast number on it, but do we know what percentage of the population might be considered to be gay?
Generally around 10%.
Around 10%?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
No, they say studies are 6%, but remember, everyone who is involved in same-sex love and relationships doesn't admit it.
That's what I was thinking.
They don't admit it. And in fact, if you read, have you read about bisexuality among women, Black women between 15 and 36 is 24%.
Really?
24%, yeah.
You mean 1 out of every 4 Black women may have some inclination toward bisexuality?
No, I think they all might have some inclination, but I'm saying that percentage identifies as being bisexual.
Wow. Okay. Olaniyan, did you have anything else before we take our next call?
No, I don't want to say anything, but I believe I heard rather large numbers with Black men, too. I don't want to quote anything because I can't quote. I've heard of large numbers for men. And I've been in college, and I do often teach in high school as a substitute teacher, and some of the homosexual activities I see between females has been shocking. I seen one female pull the bra of another down and started to lick it.
Okay, well, I tell you, I'd like to keep my job here if Olanian, if you'd be so kind, the FCC is right around the corner, and we are still in daylight hours. I want to thank you so much for. I think he said she pulled down the bra and she liked what she saw. I think that's what he said, liked. Yeah, thank you for that, Olanian. We appreciate that. Whew, okay. One of the reasons
I worked at King Hospital Department of Psychiatry. From 1972 to 1979.
Okay.
And I was that was the decade I came out of the closet. And I remember so many straight men at King Hospital complaining to me about how many women were bisexual, and that was 50 years ago almost.
Man, it's. One of the reasons, for those of you who are listening, you say, why is Nick talking about this? The reason I'm talking about it is because in every family, in every church, in every school, and perhaps at every job, there are people who are finding themselves wrestling with their own sense of identity, some trouble to the point, and we know this is true about young people, trouble to the point where they cannot live with the ambiguity or the disharmony, and they are willing to even take their lives. And it's time for us to be able to have a conversation about something that is so prevalent that it is everywhere that you go, and these are people that you know and you love, particularly in churches. And we have mastered the art of don't ask, don't tell. But in doing so, you ask people to not own the truth about themselves, which can create some real serious issues. Paul in Center City will take your question, then we'll take a break, and then our producer has a question. Paul, thank you for the call, and welcome to our conversation.
Yeah, hey, Nick, and greetings to your guest. Yes. Dr. Rue, with all due respect, I think you're being intellectually dishonest, and I think you're jumping to conclusions, and I would like to explain that. If there is valid research that is pointing in a direction, is it not worthwhile looking at that research? And is it fair to conclude that those who do such research come up with conclusions about environmental causes of homosexuality? Is it fair to conclude that they're coming up with this just because they're against homosexuals? I mean, don't we have an obligation to be intellectually honest as academicians here?
I'm not sure now. Which point of what would that point be where you perceive the intellectual dishonesty? If you be so kind, Paul, for those who may not have heard it.
There was a caller earlier who pointed to research that's been conducted at respected universities on chemicals that had been introduced into the environment of various animals, and how those animals had then proceeded to show homosexual behavior. Now, I'm just saying that if we're going to be honest academicians, don't we have an obligation to at least look at that and not just dismiss that because of the pro-gay atmosphere that we live in? And I am not anti-gay by any means. I had a son and a daughter who are both gay out of 5.
Did you hear my answer to that question? That yes, should be intellectually honest about it and research everything. You're acting like I said no, we shouldn't. I said yes, we should.
I'm sorry. You said you just now answered that to me.
No,
I thought that she said that we should research it. I didn't hear her push back against that, but I wanted to let her answer it. And Dr. Rue, if you would again, you said
yes. When it first came up earlier in the program, I agreed that we should be intellectually honest and research everything. So I didn't say don't or that we shouldn't. So you're not being that honest with me by saying I said something I didn't say.
Ma'am, I apologize. I did not hear that from you. Perhaps it was because the host had cut off, or I don't know what. All I can say is this. The research is already out there. Are you aware of any of it?
I haven't looked at any research lately, but I do know that homosexuality is not, it is part of the human, it has been part of the human experience since humans were on the earth. So I'm not, what I did say, it's not coming from a negative, homosexuality is not part of a negative origin. I think that sexuality and spirituality are actually mutually synergistic energies that should feed each other, and that I'm not coming from a position that homosexuality comes from some disordered experience in nature.
I appreciate that call, Paul, and I appreciate you giving an opportunity for a response. We've got to take a break, and then when we come back, I believe that our producer has a question. We are speaking with Dr. Sylvia Rue. We're joined by our cousin Keith, and we are talking about human sexuality from a very mature point of view in the light of the announcement by Colton Underwood, the young man who was the Bachelor and also a professional football player, who announced on television that he is gay after many experiences that cause people to think perhaps otherwise. We'll take this pause and then we'll come back right after this. Stay with us.
All Philadelphians deserve safe, healthy, and thriving neighborhoods. Yet communities are being torn apart by both mass incarceration and community violence. Tune in Monday, April 19th on Reality Check with Charles Ellison at 10 a.m. to join 215 People's Alliance, Councilmember Kendra Brooks, Pastor of the Hood Carl Day, and others to discuss how to build a Philadelphia where all members of every community can access the resources needed to heal and thrive.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now there are vaccines, and they are the first step that lets us get back to the things we miss most, like spreading the word without spreading concern, girls tripping instead of solo sipping, and talking smack with a side of mac and cheese. It's okay to have questions about COVID-19 vaccines. Now, get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The Germantown Friends School mission begins with a commitment to community and to the belief that academic achievement is in itself not enough. Inspired by Quaker values, GFS encourages students in preschool through grade 12 to see the world as theirs to experience, to understand, to create, and to change. Learn more about the GFS academic, arts, and athletics programs at their upcoming virtual open house, Friday, April 16th, 9 a.m. Register now at germantownfriends.org/admissions.
Hey WURD family, have you heard of the new Go to Know campaign? If not, here is the deal. WURD Radio has partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Penn Medicine, LabCorp, and the Independence Blue Cross Foundation to present the Go to Know Fit Kit Screening Campaign. The Go to Know campaign is an at-home screening test for colon cancer. Yep, you heard me right. You can take your own stool sample and mail it back for testing. Did you know colon cancer, if caught early, is 100% preventable? African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. Plus, it is recommended you get screened if you are 45 years of age or older. So for the next 6 months, you can go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and request your free at-home screening test. That's it. Go to Know today.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at WURD. WURD TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to Evening Words, hosted by Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Wow, where did I just looked at the clock and we've got only 5 more minutes left. I'm speaking with Dr. Sylvia Rue. Dr. Sylvia Rue is a sexologist, first African American to earn a doctorate degree from the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality. We're talking about human sexuality and its fluidity in the light of the announcement of Colton Underwood. Now, let me get to you real quick. Eric, did you have a question you want to ask? And Eric said no. Well, let's get to
there we go. There we go.
There you go.
Doc, to your question, to your statistics about 10%, why does it seem like, from a media standpoint, that there are more homosexual people in society and the highlight around like social media and television and everything like that. People are nowadays more annoyed, it seems, quote unquote, because there seem to be more people who are homosexual and coming close to themselves. Can you address that a sudden desire to highlight the homosexual community in certain aspects?
Well, I'm trying to get to the core of the question because
I think what he was
part of it is about does it seem to be more gay people or that
yeah right. So like say for instance for what we deal with in the African American community, when people assume that on the news you see 3 out of 4 stories is a black man doing something, when you can look at statistically it's probably about 15% of cases that the police department has to deal with, but it looks like based on television that it's majority.
So why you're saying, why are we seeing more presentations of individuals?
Of it being that way. And to the gentleman's point of the fluidity, there seems to be one way of homosexuality being presented, like that's the only way. And it's like it's fluid. It's a spectrum, but why are they only focusing on one particular way and highlighting it in most media presentations?
Are you highlighting men who are like RuPaul's drag show or something like that?
That's one, but say some TV shows that didn't have that social dynamic, like a Friends scenario where there's like a one token black guy, now there's a one token gay guy or one token gay girl in there, and it's just like people kind of go, they're all over the place now, and it's like, but it's not even that big. Like to your point, it's not even that high of a percentage. Like you need to calm down.
10% of 330 million people is high enough to have them at least represented on TV and TV shows as being part of the human sexuality spectrum.
Right.
So I was one of the original members of the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and we worked to have more gay representation, and not just one representation, but the variety, because we're everywhere, and we're reflected in human society everywhere.
But just the point where it seems like people are dismayed when they feel overwhelmed, like based on how people's social media goes, people make it seem like we're being overwhelmed by gay people, when it's just basically representing the portion of human society that is homosexual, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, when I came along, there weren't any black people in commercials.
Right, that's what I was just thinking. When
people started being in commercials, you'd hear white people saying, "Why do we have to have black people in commercials? There's so many black people in the commercials." It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can give Rick from Germany at least a minute. Rick, you've been waiting for a moment. You get our final minute for our guest, Dr. Sylvie Roux. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen?
Hey.
To the good doctor, my question is about religion and 2 religions of Abraham, Judaism and Islam. If these religions came out of Egypt originally, why would, and if homosexuality was there in Egypt, why would these 2 religions in written form prescribe death to gay people?
Yeah, I answered that in 30 seconds left. There's not enough time to get into that.
No,
because I do remember the first major representation of homosexuality is from a temple in Egypt of 2 gay men who loved each other.
I saw that as drawing on pottery that I saw.
Yeah. And you're asking me, why do patriarchal religions, and these are patriarchal religions, dislike homosexuality? Is because they see, the perception is that gay men are not part of the patriarchal control of women, because if you're not gonna have sex with them, and it's not enough time to get into this, honestly. That's another.
Well, the good news is that when they hired me here, they let me come back almost every day. And so, Dr. Sylvia Rue, that means you got to come back and do some more splaining to the people, and that's what we will anticipate. Dr. Sylvia Rue is a writer, an activist, a filmmaker, and a producer. She was the co-producer of the acclaimed documentary All God's Children, and the first African American to earn a doctorate in human sexuality from the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality in San Francisco, California. As always, it was a pleasure and enlightening. And Cousin Keith, real pleasure to meet you. And I'm hoping that you will be around the next time that we have this conversation. I want to thank both of you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
The pleasure was absolutely mine. While we're doing thanking, we want to thank all of our guests today. Reverend Dr. Donna Jones of the Metropolitan Christian Council of Philadelphia for speaking to us about restorative and balanced justice models and the attempt to bring justice closer to our communities. And we thank our teacher, Jennifer Hopkins Dougherty, and that's Miss Jenny to you, and the students from Freire School who were friends of Antonio Walker, the 15-year-old who was gone much too soon, killed on March the 9th, having been shot at 52nd and Pentridge Street. We remembered that young man, we lifted his legacy, and we extolled the virtues of his young life. And last but not least, of course, Dr. Sylvia Rue. On behalf of all the good folks here at WURD who make it possible for us to spend this time in productive dialogue with you, including our producer of renown, Mr. Eric Nixon, I'm Nick Taliaferro, wishing you a great day today, a better one tomorrow. We'll see you again right here on your favorite conversation station. Stay tuned and save space for Sincerely Sarita.